Frank Megale, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Much appreciated, mate.
It's good to have you on, man. Um, oh, you've been a huge champion of the blueprint for a long time, and yeah, so thanks for that. And it looks like you've got some pretty good results with Joan too. Um, I think did you listen to the podcast I did a couple of days ago, or you listened to some of it?
Yeah, no, I listened to the whole thing. I used to listen to it straight away, pretty much, as
Yeah,
soon as it come up. Yeah,
yeah. So that whole podcast was pretty much just trying for the people that have decided to use the blueprint and use my training and that are training a deer dog and want to do a good job with it. That podcast was just like trying to get the people that aren't quite in the right mindset and aren't quite getting it to just like get them over that line to okay, yeah. And in that podcast, they even spoke about like people that get out of shape and get pear shaped. I don't know if they've haven't necessarily watched the whole series properly, or they think they can wing it a little bit and leave some stuff out or do some stuff different. And then they get into trouble. And then we start talking about it. And then after a bit of experience, they're like, oh man, yeah, nah, kind of. And we talk about it and they listen to some more podcasts and watch the blueprint again. And they're like, now that I've really had a good look at it and I'm sort of getting locked in, I did make a lot of mistakes, and a lot of this makes a lot more sense now. And I'm going to lock in and get it done. But I wish I did it properly at the start. For
yeah,
whatever reason, it seems like you've done it. You locked in right from the start and did a lot of it properly right from the start, which loads of other people have as well. But yeah, I just wish out of the people that did decide to do it, if everyone could do that, I just want to avoid people making mistakes, and having that bummed out moment of like, damn it, I wish I did it correctly right from the start, which it seems like you have.
yeah. Well, it's hindsight is always a good thing to have. And like, lucky enough for me, I got to train my first dog Joan with the blueprint, and now I've got the second pup Vita, and I'm making sure that those mistakes or those things that might have been overlooked or not realized the very first dog I trained, I made sure that I didn't, bring them through into this puppy. And then so now it's made training a lot more easier. It's made things a lot more smoother, and there's less conflict with the dog as well, which is been a godsend.
Mm. Yeah. So that's one of the notes we've got here, that one thing that you mentioned, that training your second one was easier.
Much easier,
Yeah.
heaps easier. Just like there are things, even when you still hunt over Joan and you go, the next pup's, going to be a bit more tighter in this area, or I'm going to make sure I emphasize this a bit more, or just certain things I'd like the dog to do, and things like that. And now they come to fruition, and I'm like ever so happy that I got to have that experience. But as you said, like when I first got the blueprint, before I even got Joan, I went through, not only watched the whole thing twice, then I also went through all the Q&As. I went through everything I could from it, so that way when I did get the puppy, I tried to put my best foot forward and do the best I could with it. And yeah, and so that's how Joan come about.
Yeah. Yeah, you're obviously just in that podcast. I talked a lot about focus, but for whatever reason, you're obviously focused and driven and got hooked into it, had a
Yeah,
good look through it and committed to it. And like you say, the second time was easier, but well, we'll start talking about Joan here, and that's sort of our whole first group of topics here. But it seemed like things went fairly well with Joan, even though, like you say, you were still learning, or you still might have had some challenges, or you were able to do some things better the second time round. Things went seemed to go pretty good for you with Joan
yeah,
with
yeah,
the first
definitely.
one.
Like you said, in the last podcast you did, you were talking about focus and avoiding focus. And so I made sure I didn't avoid focus with Vita, but with Joan, I made sure I tried to focus as much energy, as much time, and try to forward think as much as I could when I was doing training with her. And being diligent and following the blueprint to the T, even though like as I said to you, it's easier now, but when you first get the blueprint and we're doing crate training and we're doing limited access to kids and family and things like that, and people look at you weird and go, what's wrong with you? Just let the puppy out. It's okay. She'll be fine. Well, we know what the answer is to that and what happens after that. And so now when people see Joan and how well behaved she is and like how she's just relaxed and she can be in a crate and be no bother and be happy as, or just be sitting next to you, laying next to you and not worrying too much about her if she's going to get up or move or anything like that. You tell her to sit, she'll stay. A lot of people look at her and go, well, where'd you get that GSP from? It must be the nature of that GSP. When really it's a lot of hard work, a lot of consistency, and just keeping on that line. And as I was saying to a couple of guys the other day, like the more you deviate from that line, the longer it takes you to get back onto that track. Whereas if you just walk straight, it would just be a nice, easy walk. But if you want to do that all the time, you do the off track, on track thing, it's just going to make life even harder.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good analogy for it too. And my last podcast, I was talking about that matrix of the more mistakes you make, the more work you're going to have to do to get the same result. And if you're locked in and you do everything correctly and you do enough of the things right and your management is right and you don't make a heap of mistakes, then you get a very good result for less work. But yeah, the more you veer off that track or the more mistakes you make or the more you muck around, you're just making life harder for yourself and you're going to have to do more work to get maybe a lesser result. If you make lots and lots of mistakes, you're going to have to do a lot more work to get a lesser of a result. Um, Whereas, yeah, if you just stick on that path and keep everything tidy and do everything properly, it is quite. I guess that's a real mindset, like perspective thing too. Like what is and isn't a lot of work.
Yeah,
Um,
correct.
I guess it is a fair bit of work. It's not. It's not tons and tons. It's not outrageous, but it's more. It's a lot. Like you said, you used that word diligence before. It's just a lot of diligence and consistency, and so much of it is about what you don't do than what you do. And then once you rule out all the mistakes, it's just sort of, yeah.
You
Um,
gotta back yourself with it. You gotta back yourself because like you're the one that's gone through the whole blueprint. You've watched all the videos. You know what's happening, and you know what you got to do. Like being a family man, it's for me is executing that and trying to explain to the family this is why it needs to happen, and this is why we're doing it.
mm,
And now, like now, they're all into the system, and they all understand, excuse me, what they have to do and what is expected of the dogs. And so now, like, yeah, it's part of not training them to, but exposing them to what I'm doing so they can understand better too.
mm, yeah. Yeah, and like you brought up at the start, like it can be a big mind shift thing for people if they're not familiar with proper systemized structured dog training and they've just seen pets and out of control and all of that. And if you're not super experienced with dogs, if you haven't seen it go pear-shaped, and if you don't know the result that we're after with a good dare dog, um, and it is, yeah, and we're like, well, I'm kenneling it and crating it now. I'm not just letting it off whenever I want to tear around and do all those sorts of things. Like a lot of people haven't been exposed to that before,
Yeah,
so it is like bit of a, what do you mean, what? And you just sort of get that blank stare and like confused and um
they get
but
shocked. They get shocked, and they get taken aback, and they think you're taking away the dog's freedom. They think you're somehow making the dog what's you're deliberately trying to uh, what's the word for it? Not jail the dog, but you're literally trying to contain it so that way it can't do anything. And where really you are trying to do that, but you're trying to do that in a structured way. So all the experience it does have is in a positive way. So it comes out in the training and later on in life, it's a more stable, relaxed, better dog.
mm. Yeah, and in a lot of ways, like we're preparing the dog to actually operate in life at quite a high level and to be able to do a lot of activities and a lot of things and to have a lot of freedom and adventure and challenge and um, lots of different things, and actually a lot more than most dogs. Like a really well trained hunting dog is like, yeah, our dogs are going in the helicopter and flying into the bush and, road tripping and obviously hunting in the bush and hiking and, like just flat out doing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, our dogs, once they're finished training, a busy dog, someone that does a lot of hunting, um, they do way more than probably most pet dogs that do get that bit of extra freedom when they're growing up. Our dogs are maybe a bit more structured and restricted for that first 12 months. Well, but we probably do more actual engaged training with them and things. But later on, if everything goes well, and that's sort of the whole aim of it, they're actually doing tons of stuff. So
Yeah.
it
Most definitely.
is, um, yeah, it's just a big mind shift, mindset thing if for people that don't know what we're doing or haven't seen a structured training program and stuff like that.
It can be a shock for them, but I find a lot of people, as soon as I explain what I'm doing, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, yep. And then, the fruit is, the fruit's in the dog. You can see, the works of your labor there, and people are rather impressed by it.
Yeah. 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 That's a real common thing too, is yeah, people are like, far out. How did you? That's really the things that sells the blueprint, or a lot of people find the blueprint or come to the blueprint by just seeing a dog and being like, what's up with that dog? Because
Yeah, yeah.
it is noticeable. Um, a really well trained dog. And a lot of people do notice it too. It stands out. They say, like, yeah, how'd you train that dog? Um, so yeah, I guess we'll talk about Joan first. Um, yeah, who was Joan? Do you want to talk about Joan? When you got her and how the training went and all of that, and how she started off hunting.
Yeah, well, Joan, she's my 7-year-old GSP. Got her from a good friend of mine. He's a reputable breeder, and had a chat to him and was talking about the type of dog I want and what I want to do with the dog. And his line is mainly like a field trial line or field work line, with retrieving and quail indicating, and flushing and stuff like that. But also his line showed that, they do indicate deer, and he's had his dogs indicate deer before, which I thought fantastic. So, went to him, and we both selected Joan, thinking she'd be the best choice. And Joan wasn't the biggest pup of the group, but she was very sweet, very shy dog. And after watching print, and also after listening to a couple of podcasts that you did about how shy Fly was as to when you first got her, I thought, well, this would be the go. So got Joan, and yeah, I made sure I got the blueprint as well. Before I got Joan, that way I knew what I was going to get, what I was getting into, everything like that. And then, so brought Joan home. Where I did live, it's rather cold, and I got her in winter time, so I made sure that I got the Palmaker dog guide as well, and I crated her from day dot. That worked out fantastically. Um, and she sits in the crate. She sits in the bed now, no worries whatsoever. You can put her on the spot, and she'll stay there. She does great with that. And look, training. It was the hardest part about training was pretty much trying to train the family pretty well. That's what the go was. Just telling them this is why we're creating, and like this is why we're minimizing, getting her excited, and just trying to just keep her relaxed and keep her calm and everything like that. And yeah, the fruits of my labor, oh, well, and the blueprints, like it's worked out phenomenally. Like right now, I don't know if you can hear, but there's actually people letting off fireworks outside, and the dogs aren't barking, but every other neighbor's dog's barking right now. My dogs aren't. So like that's another feather in the cap. Like that's worked out really well. But look, her training was probably at a very hard time, um, for the simple fact of, like, I got a very young family, and during the last part of her training, we had the massive fires down here in New South Wales. So I was away for a while, just trying to help out with that sort of stuff. And then after that came the dreaded COVID. So then we got locked up, and she was ready to go at about 14 months, but I didn't get to go take her out till she was about 16 months old. And I remember like you talk about in the blueprint how the first hunt has to be, you want everything to be perfect, everything right. So when she's ready for the first hunt, we're off ready to go. And so her first hunt just worked out absolutely fantastically. I just couldn't have been prouder, and I was shocked. I was shocked the whole time of the first hunt, and I'll go through with you in a second. But she did everything exactly what she was supposed to do, and was just calm and relaxed the whole time. And I was just like that. The best part for me, like I actually didn't shoot the deer. I actually brought a mate of mine hunting. He's never actually seen a deer before, or shot a deer before. And I brought him, and he actually shot the deer. He actually shot Joan's first deer, which he was like, yeah, he actually offered me money to buy Joan straight away. Actually, after he shot that deer, he asked me if he could buy Joan off me. But like um, we were told by it was private land. We're told by the farmer, just go down the creek. They're usually in the creek down there. You'll see where they are. And um, we were walking down to the creek, and Joan had just turned, stood up on her hind legs, which was like totally out of the norm, but she was trying to smell over a small knoll. And when my mate was with me, he just said, "What's she doing?" And I said, I've never seen her do this before, but she's trying to smell something, obviously. And then she worked her way back to me, and then just went up the knoll just a little bit, and then turned around and looked at me to say, "Well, are you coming or what?" And I'm like, "Yes, yeah, let's go. Off we go." And went over the knoll, went through a bit of bush, and we've popped out. And as we just popped out outside the bush, like in front of us, there was probably about 12 fallow deer in the paddock just there. And they were, from about 100 to 200 meters away. And they had no idea we were there. They had no idea we were there. And when we got to the edge, my mate's just gone deer, because I was watching Joan, and he said deer. And I've looked at him, looked over, seen the paddock of 12 deer, and looked down at Joan, and Joan was on full point, and like had the full sneak point on. And yeah, like to say I was excited would be an understatement. Like it was just fantastic to see. So she actually looked at me through. She gave me a side eye. I just tapped the side of my leg for her to get in, so she got in behind me. And I was told, "Mate, just go in and grab one." And he got in. He shot his first buck, and he was happy. Then I just took it downwind, and she just, as soon as she hit that wind, she just walked into the deer, because you want to make the first one perfect and bright and everything like that. And she just walked in very nice and slowly, and she sniffed and sniffed. She stopped a bit, looked at me. I walked forward, and up she went, and she smelt it. I put my hand on it, and I patted it, and then she was just started to pluck it. She was happy as, and got her to sit down, and I took a hock off, gave it to her to eat, and she was the happiest dog in the world, and I couldn't have been any prouder. And like that hunt, it was like 20 minutes. All of 20 minutes was that hunt. Like it was the most successful hunt I've ever had, and it was like the best hunt I've had with her to date. So yeah, that was really good. That was really good. That was her first hunt.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And like obviously it sounds like it was a pretty good spot, and you're on a private spot with some deer around. The farmer's like, oh, there's probably something down there. But that's a perfect scenario where, and if she indicated it first, even if it was a relatively basic indication and they were just over a knob or something, but for her to indicate them first and then lead and do that classic, hey, it's over this way, and look back at you, eye contact, her seeing you see
Yeah,
her. And
yeah,
so she knows that you know, and she's seeing you respond to her, and then you follow her up, and then there's the deer, and her seeing it get shot and steady to the shot, call her back in, and then walk up to the deer. That's pretty textbook. Like, so she's seen all of the main elements that you want perfectly, sort of step by step. So from there on out, she's just gonna be like,
and
um,
yeah. Ever since then, she has just been like high drive with like just. There were so many cues and things that she has done that I didn't understand until I sit back, back at camp, and just have a think about what she was doing. And then it just comes to light. You just know what she was doing and what was happening at that time. She knew what was going on. I just didn't read her properly, and yeah, it's just they're amazing. Once you're so in tune with your dog, and you know what they're thinking, and you know when they're looking at you, and all the cues they give you, all the small little indications, you're just you gel as a team, and that's when you start really charging in, and you start really slaying.
Mm. Yeah, and it's crazy how in tune they are, and it's I guess for people starting out too, like dogs read body language incredibly well, and they think that we can read their body language as well as they can read our body language, or that another dog would read their body language, sort of thing, and they can be quite subtle,
Yeah,
especially if they're well trained. So they're not all super full on and crazy and animated and things, and then they can just sort of be like winding and looking, and it can just be like, yeah, it's right here, let's go, and they're not making a huge performance out of it.
yeah, yeah.
But you get used to reading, and well, we've got that old saying, hey, always trust the dog, and just
Always trust the dog.
always
Always.
trust the dog, man, and always watch the dog. And if it's like they're doing something, what are they doing there? That looks a bit weird. What are they? Well, you should probably pay a lot of attention because
100%.
it's it's ridiculous how good they are at it, eh?
Yeah.
Didn't you have some a situation where she found a deer? I think I remember a yarn about a wounded deer.
Yeah, yeah. I was at one of the hunt camps, and I went out in the morning with her and looked at a couple of tracks and stuff like that. But come back to camp, and one of the guys there bailed me up. It was about 2:30 in the afternoon, and he said, "Oh, can you come with me and help me find a deer?" And I said to him, I said, "Well," and like, this man's got so much more experience than me. And I said, "You don't need me to help you find any deer." He's like, "No, no, I shot a deer, but it's dead. I just need to find it." "Oh yeah, no worries, let's go." And went to the spot, and I just said to him, "Well, just take me to the tree where you shot it, and we'll go from there. We'll see what we can do." "Yep, no worries." So I had Joan in front, and if you can imagine, we're walking along this saddle, and we're walking across the face and then this hill, and once we got around this face, the corner of this face, she just locked on and pointed straight down. And my mate goes, "Oh, is that the deer? Is that what she's pointing at?" And I said, "Well, she only points live deer. If she tracks, she'll actually walk nice and calmly in front and walk to the deer. That's what she'll do, and she'll have her nose to the ground. But this is a she's got a direct wind, but she's obviously smelling, a live deer." And at the time, well, he was very adamant at the time that this deer is definitely dead because he shot it uh, 6 hours beforehand, and there was a massive amount of blood on the floor. And so I said, "Okay, well, it's in the kind of live deer, but we'll go around here and we'll go to the tree." So he said, "The tree's down here." We went down to the tree across his face. Yep, pull the blood there. And she just turned and she just started walking towards this tree. And she didn't have a direct wind at that point. And as she walked towards the tree, I was about I don't know, probably about 7 meters away, and she's walked into just the cover of this big sapling, and there was a bit of a commotion, and then she just come out and then sat next to me. And my mate goes, "What's that?" And I said, I don't know what that meant. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I don't know what the go is." And we didn't know this at the time, but she had actually flushed this deer from where it was sitting at the time. So this deer had then gotten up and taken off. And so I said, "Well, we'll keep following her," because then she started walking down the hill. So we followed her down the hill and got to the bottom of the hill. And then my mate goes, "The deer wouldn't have gone this far. There's no way it would have gone this far. It's too far." And I went, "Okay, well, I'll take it back across this face because the wind's coming this way. Then once we cross, if we cross it, she'll find it straight away and she'll moving on it." "Yep, no worries." And as we're talking, I just look down, and Joan is standing on this log, and she's looking across the creek there, and she's just solid, like she's not moving. And I'm like, "Oh, what's going on there?" And then my mate just looked up and goes, "Well, there's the deer." I went, "Oh, there it is there." Okay. And so he unfortunately didn't bring his rifle down because we were so adamant that we had, this deer had passed. So he ran back up the hill, ran back down. At the same time, this deer has crouched down behind this big bit of palm and tussock grass. And so I just moved Joan back with me. We just sat there, and she was just calm as, just sat there and just was watching that spot. And would have been all, I don't know how we did it, but my mates just run up this hill and ran straight back down. I thought he was going to die of a heart attack. Like it was a pretty steep hill. He ran up about 600 meters and come back down 600. So he'd done well. And then I said to him, it's just there behind the tusker grass. And he went over and had a look at it, and it wasn't there. Actually, what I had done is actually had crawled. We went over and looked at the tracks, and you could see the deer actually had crawled on its forelegs across onto a track, and then it made its way up the hill. And so put Joan back on the scent. She's followed the tracks back up to the hill. We got to the top of the hill. We've seen a big pile of, it was vomit. It was like chewed up cud and stuff. The very top, she was smelling that. And then she only walked about 2 paces forward, turned and did this point, and she just looked. Her nose pointed to the ground, but her eyes were looking up into the saplings about 10 meters away. And I said to my mate, "It's just there. The deer it's just here." And he goes, "Where?" I said, "Just behind these trees." It's like I'm talking to him like you and I are talking right now. I wasn't being quiet about it. I'm like, "It's just there. Like, just walk through those trees and you'll shoot the deer." And sure enough, he walked through. The deer come out the other side. And when they come out the other side, it's quickly gone down into the creek line. He's come out the other side, and we're looking for it. And then Joan's walking with it, and it's turned up and gone around the other side of the hill and gone up the hill. And she's turned and she's going to go back. She was going up the hill. You could see the tracks. I just sent my mate up there. I said, "It's just on the top of this little ridge here." And he followed up the top, and then as soon as he got to the top, we heard this gunshot, and then that was it. He had got the deer. And so like that was that Joan had found that same animal 4 times. She had found it 4 times, and like we traversed, I don't know, a kilometer in that whole time to get this deer. Like it, she just didn't give up. Just a super effort from her. I was proud of the bunch. Absolutely
Yeah.
proud of.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's obviously always an unfortunate situation when a deer's been wounded like that, but it does happen. And yeah, a good dog is just an incredible tool for finding them when that situation does arise. Yeah, and I remember that story, and I've had dozens and dozens of stories like that, and well, not about dozens and dozens, but definitely like a good in my whole career. I mean, I've had dogs track animals after the shot for me like hundreds of times,
Yeah.
but there's a good probably more than a dozen odd times when it's been a really difficult track like that, and you keep bumping it and bouncing it and the dog just keeps going, and there's just no way I would have found it without the dog.
Oh, definitely.
And particularly early on, I learned all that stuff the hard way, and that always trust the dog quote like comes from, and I did all of that, learned all of that the hard way by, I've got stories the same where, remember one time, well, Tessa, my Labrador, I don't know her photos,
Oh yeah,
right,
there
right
she
there.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, old Tessa. Um, she was a great dog, and she was one of the first dogs that I actually put a decent amount of training into before I started hunting her, and that, or at least while I was hunting her anyway. And particularly later on, I did a lot of training with her. Um, but I shot a deer on a real steep face one day,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it was on a slip. A sort of wasn't a really long shot, but I didn't have my guns weren't as flash back then and that, so it was I think it was about a couple of hundred meters, which wasn't even really that long a shot for the setup that I had. But took the shot of this deer a couple hundred meters away on the slip, and it was a real steep face, and I hit it, and the shot felt good, looked good, and the deer just sort of hunched up and stumbled straight downhill. And
yeah,
I was just like, it's a deer. I wasn't thinking even, it wasn't in my mind that, oh, I better be careful or sneak over there and try to find it and stuff. It was just, I was going back to camp to get my gear to go and retrieve a dead deer.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then I got up there, and I'm looking around the bottom of the slip. And as soon as I got to the bottom of the slip, Tessa's just trying to climb straight up, and she's walking up to where the deer was standing when I shot it, and just trying to walk up, climb up past above where I saw. And when I shot it, it fell downhill,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's like steep, man, like this vertical slip. And I was almost growling her, like, oh, this is a long time ago, in one of those scenarios where I did really learn that the hard way. And there's a couple of times since then too, but it was actually with that dog that I learned just you do not second guess this dog, because
Yep.
I've never seen her be wrong. And when I'm growling her and telling her to come back or second guessing her every time, um, I've been wrong. And I'm climbing around in the bottom of the slip and stinging nettle and logs and crap and rubbish looking for blood or a dead deer or something.
Yep. Yep.
And then she actually started whining. She actually climbed, and I growled her and called her back down. And
Yep.
every time I got busy and was looking around and then looked back up, she was on her way back up the slip, just looking back at me.
Right.
And honestly, after like about 20 minutes, she was standing on the slip just whining. She knew exactly what I was doing. She knew exactly where the deer was. And she was just like, bro, what
Just
the
get up here.
hell are you doing? And I looked up and I kind of realized, and I thought, like, it was one of those real penny drop moments. And I thought, and after spending 20 minutes and just getting totally bamboozled, like, where could have this deer gone? And I'm standing there just like, what the hell? And then I hear this whine and I look up and my dog just standing in the middle of the slip, looking up the hill, like looking up to where she knows the deer's gone, where I'm thinking it's impossible that it's gone that way. She's like,
Yep.
looked up the hill, looks back at me, looks back up the hill, looks back at me. And it's like, what do you want them to start speaking
Yeah.
English?
How much more
Or,
obvious do
yeah,
you want? I'll get a flag
right.
and I'll start guiding
Yeah.
you into
I was
it.
like, I might just follow my dog. And yeah, climbed up the top of the slip, right, and there was a real steep rut of an animal track off the
Yeah.
top of that slip. And that deer was wounded, and that was obviously where it wanted to get back up and disappear into its area where it had been hanging out. And I had a camp down in the creek too. It was one of my trapping camps, so it probably even knew that there was danger down below. So once it got hit and wounded, people say a wounded deer doesn't go uphill. Well, they
That,
freaking can, and they
they
can
can
go up some
do.
serious stuff when they want to. And this thing was dead on its feet too, and hit really hard. And yeah, it stumbled right down the hill. And while I was back getting my stuff and camp and not watching the slip, it had climbed straight back up the open slip, totally in view. If you had to keep watching it, you would have saw it climb up there. And then it went up, sidled way up this creek, and then must have run out of steam. And then it come down in the creek, and then went right out the creek into the main creek and off down the main creek.
Wow.
And I've seen stuff like that and exactly like your story multiple times. And it was actually with that dog Tessa. She was finding someone else's deer. We were walking into a spot and we heard a gunshot way out ahead of us about half an hour ago. And then we're walking on the sidle track. And all of a sudden, Tessa started putting her nose down real keen, was going side to side. And I just said to my mate, oh, deer's come through here, just like passing comment. But then she was super keen. And I just, out of interest, had a look to see if I could see a mark, see if it was a big. We weren't going to go after it. We were walking into a
Yeah.
hut.
Right.
And then I looked down, here's a speck of blood. And
Oh,
someone had wounded a deer across there's actually these private hunting blocks over there. Someone had wounded a deer on this private block, and it had crossed a river up a face onto the public land we were on, and it gapped it way up in the public land. And we were tracking that deer, and my mate kept on saying, "No, it wouldn't have gone up here. It wouldn't have gone up there." And I was just like, "Bro," I got to the point where I'm not looking for a mark. I'm not looking for blood. I'm not looking for anything. All I'm doing is following the dog
yeah.
and looking for the deer,
Yeah.
looking for the deer to that I don't spook
Looking
it, or
ahead.
so I can
Yeah.
get another shot on it or something. Because I just always trust the dog. Just it's one of those like blind faith things, man.
Yeah, most definitely. And like the dogs can smell things that we can't even think of. Like they are smelling this animal's breath. They can smell how close they are to this animal. They can smell like how much blood it's losing. They can smell, all the stress hormones from this animal. Like there's so many things that this dog can perceive from that smell that we can't even start to imagine. And that's how, like, yeah, coming back to Joan, like when she indicated that live deer, she indicated it alive because she could smell its breath. I can only assume she could smell its breath, and like obviously a dead deer is not breathing, so therefore that those proteins and enzymes are coming out of the out of the lungs. She doesn't get that, and that's why she walks up to the deer. But on a deer that's alive, she goes on point because she can smell that sort of stuff. And it's not just her; it's like all dogs capable of that.
Yeah.
No worries whatsoever. So yeah, always trust the dog. If you get
Always,
anything
yeah.
from that, just write it down now, folks, in big capital letters on your notepad. Always trust the dog.
Like 100%. And yeah, you'll make a lot more mistakes and lose out a lot more by doubting the dog and second guessing it and things, and calling the dog back. One practical tip I'd tack on to the end of this is like when I'm tracking I always use a GPS in the bush. So I'll always have the track on
Yep,
and points like where I've first hit the deer. Usually I'll just be able to remember because my track's on, so I'll be able to, if I ever wanted to come back and start again,
yep,
or double check anything, I usually don't have to mark it, but I will mark things like where I took the shot from, where I started tracking the deer from. If I do see a big lump of obvious blood,
yep,
or even a speck of blood, so I definitely know that the deer's gone there. So I am marking that track with my GPS, and I'm marking definite blood. So you can always come back and start
yep,
again if and once or twice out of like hundreds of times the dogs I've had a dog usually when you're tracking multiple deer and a heap of deer have gone forward in a straight line, and
yep,
the deer you've wounded has done like a hard turn, or even not even a 90-degree turn, but like almost a 180 back on an angle when they've done a hard turn like that.
yep.
And it's pretty crazy how good they get at even getting that turn. And five deer have gone forward, the one you've wounded is turned off, and they'll go that way, like
How do
almost
they do that?
like
How do
not 99 times out of 100.
Yeah,
Usually when a dog has gone past, it's because I'm too close up its ass and I've pushed it past that
yeah,
turn off. And
yeah,
I'm saying, where you go, hurry up, where is he? And the dog's
yeah,
like, oh, it's actually something I've done to push the dog past the turn, and now it thinks I want to follow up on the other ones.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but
Got to
that
give it
would be,
time to
yeah,
go.
that's the one thing. And then I can, once I click, oh, I haven't seen a speck of blood in ages, I can come back and try to pick it up. And usually the dog will find that too. Just go back down and they'll turn off and you're away again. But like what you said before, it's insane the amount of information that they're getting just off the smell. And it's not only, they definitely know whether it's alive or dead.
Yeah, most.
Um,
Yeah,
I,
I
I,
just. Yeah,
I reckon they can know if the animal's sitting down and relaxed or on its feet and moving.
yeah. I'd agree with
Um,
you there. I would agree with you there. There was that, like, even when you see those videos of like the dogs coming in and they're smelling a pheasant or a quail and they're roading it, they're roading the chucker or the pheasant, and they're moving forward and then they're stopping and laying on their point, and they get up and they move again, they sit down and lay on their point again, and like you can only imagine, like, the dog is obviously inhaling that adrenaline and that breath and whatever else is coming off the animal. And like if that animal is highly stressed, the amount of smell coming off the animal would be like huge. And the dog knows when it's pushed itself hard enough to go, if I go any further, this thing is going to move or flush. So I'll just stand here and wait, and it'll hold here. I can't push it any more harder than what I have. Like the dog obviously learns that over its lifetime to hold point when it needs to hold point. And like there are so many things, as you said, there are so many things going through their mind and their smell that they're trying to work out while they're hunting as well. It's absolutely amazing how it all connects together.
mm, it is,
Absolutely.
yeah, it is, and and no matter how long you do it, you still see them do stuff and think, um, you do learn to appreciate it more, and you know, like, oh, if the dog's doing something, it's because you learn to respect it and really trust the dog. But
Yeah.
they still blow you away over time. A little heading dog that I had that I shot a lot of animals over, Fly. Sometimes she would be wanting to move in a little bit faster, and it was generally when the animals are on their feet, and particularly when they're moving. So she
Yeah.
knows they're moving and she's trying to move in faster.
Yeah.
And sometimes she'd be moving in very slowly from a long way out, and that's usually when the animals are sitting still or laying down and super relaxed. And she knows they're laying down and dead still. She's like, we're gonna go
With a
real
ninja in
deep.
the here, yeah. With a
And
ninja.
sometimes she'd switch back and forth. So she'd start going in real careful, and then she'd want to speed up. And that's because they were still and now they're moving. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just freaking amazing, eh?
It's so cool
Um,
how they do that. And like to be able to work with them in getting a result too, like that, like when that all comes together, like the exhilaration you feel like is just it is the best moment. Like that's why you do it. That's why you get out there for those moments like that for sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Oh, man, it is. Yeah, it's one of the coolest things ever, eh? And especially when you get a dog right from a pup and you train it all and you go through all of the steps and you're getting it all ready and you know what you're doing and all of that. And then, yeah, to take it out on its first couple of hunts and see it all carry out like that. And,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
when you have a couple of big ones like that, like if it finds a wounded animal that you never would have found without it and does a real crazy find. And even when, as a handler, we stuff it up like 4 or 5 times and they just fix it again and again and again. And
definitely.
just like,
Definitely. Like there's so much like even on those first couple of times there's so much adrenaline going through you and like the the clincher or the I suppose like when the penny dropped for me is like when Joan's on point, and then you go, oh, now it's my turn to actually seal this deal. Now the pressure's on me to perform. Like dogs, like I've handed it to you. Now you get the job done. Like that's yeah. You're like, oh, that's me. I'm up. It's my turn. Yeah, here we go. Like that's the like that. That's working together as a team, and that like there's no better feeling than doing that. Like just getting up in there and that's yeah, man, it's so cool. I want to go hunting tomorrow now. Talking about this, I want to get out there tomorrow.
it's, yeah, so good, eh? It's almost embarrassing to talk about it, but I had one the last year I shot with Miko just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that was a bit of a shambles on my part, and yeah, she did a lot of compensating for
she carried you a bit, did she?
for mistakes that I made. And it was one of those things where it's like, I need your help here. And she found it again and I stuffed it up again. So we started tracking again. And that happened about 4 times until I eventually got it. But yeah,
Right.
that was one of those ones that wasn't a real bad one, but it was real bad for the amount of times that I stuffed it up in quick succession over and over. Um,
Time in the field. You got maybe just to get a bit rusty. That's all. Sometimes.
oh, there's something like that. Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely that rusty, yeah, and just one of those things. Um, and yeah, so Joan, and then you decided to get some pups out of her, eh?
Yeah, yeah. So like I had Joan, and so she's going fantastic, and I wanted to get another pup, and I want to start another pup, and just trying to find another dog's put over her just to get the next generation going. And it just trying to find the right stud dog or the right bloodline. Just doing your homework with that. Like there are plenty of guys that you see on Facebook, and they've got the dogs, and they're like they're breeders, and you see heaps of photos of them with deer and everything else. And you contact them, and some guys don't like breeding outside their line, and that's fair enough. Like they have spent 40 years breeding a line. Well done, all good. And then some guys, you have a look at their line, and like you can see that their GSP, in my circumstance, their GSP is like very hyped up, very energetic, and they're not calm and relaxed. And I want to find someone that bred for temperament and for steadiness. And yeah, found a very good breeder, and they had a stud dog up, and like I had to do a 4 hour interview just to breed. Yeah, I know,
All
right?
right.
I know, and like looking back at it, I'm glad they did because they wanted to know like how I trained Joan, how I looked after Joan, like her husbandry, what I've done with her, like the results I had from her, all the training, everything like that. They wanted to see everything like that, and like wanted to know why, I wanted to breed and all that sort of stuff, just to make sure I was legit and everything like that. And I was very happy that they did that in the end. And then I got to ask them questions and got to see videos of the stud dog actually working in the field, and seeing him. And he's actually like he's a search dog. So like he's won many a title, and like the whole line has won so many titles in search, and it's search and something else. The name eludes me, but anyway, just watching him work with his handler, he was very calm, steady, and he was very focused. And he was like, he walked in front and he stopped and he waited for his trainer to catch up. And then he walked off again. And like, that is something like that you really want an indicating dog. You want the dog to walk up, and when the indicating dog realizes you're a bit too far away, you want them to stop and wait for you to walk up, obviously. And that's all part of the blueprint. But anyway, I looked at this dog. This dog is magic. Yep, let's get it done. And I specifically wanted to breed for indicating deer. So an indicating dog, that's what I wanted to breed. And so we did that, done the deal, and got Joan in pup. And I just wanted one pup from her. So, I had to sell the rest of the puppies that come out. But I also wanted to make sure that, these pups went to a good home. And that's why, like, when I spoke to you about the blueprint and the Palmega dog guide, I wanted to make sure that all the people who bought a pup got the blueprint and the Palmega dog guide as part of, as part of the package with the dog. Like, I also got him a crate and, got him long lines and things like that. So they're all set up and ready to go. And that's worked out really well. It's worked out really well. We've got a messenger group happening now to the people that bought the pups, and like they're going through stuff with their first dog that I went through with Joan. So it's been really nice to help them and just shine lights on things that could come in the future that they might have overlooked and things like that. And they're very, very appreciative of it. Like they do like thank me for the time that I spend with, guiding them through it a bit more. But yeah, it's like, as I said to one of the guys today, like we're not training just any hunting dog. We are training a proper indicating slaying machine here. Like we're training like a high drive dog, and like something that we want to be extremely proud of, and something that will make you smile when we go into the paddock, not frustrate you. And so like the time and effort is needed to put into the puppy, and the boys can see that. And yeah, and they put in they're all task focused, as much as they should be, and it's great to see them getting results as well. But yeah, I ended up breeding the litter, and then like obviously when I was raising them, I haven't talked to you again, saying like what would be, if someone was to breed a litter, what would be the perfect thing for the litter to have when the person comes, picks up their pup, stuff like that. And you were saying, just calm handling, just trying not to get them too jumpy, and just trying to keep them calm and all that sort of stuff. And that worked out really well, like to the point where I actually had them at my in-laws' place at one stage. All the puppies were there in the yard, and they were in their pen. And I walked into the backyard, and I was walking to go and feed them, and they all came to the fence, and they just sat down and watched me. And you had 10 GSPs just sitting there watching me go get food and stuff like that. And my sister-in-law, she was watching from the kitchen sink, and she said, like, to my brother-in-law, who they breed kelpies and they use kelpies every day. They've got 10 of their own, and they turned around and said, she turned around and said to her husband, "What? How come your puppies don't do that when they're sitting there watching you about to do that?" And that made me smile because they're puppies and they do jump up and down and everything like that. But just to say that these puppies were calm, that actually made me feel really really good and knew that I was actually doing everything right as I should be with getting the puppies calm before they go to the forever home. So like everyone was super happy and super glad, and I'm glad I put that work in them before they got their puppy, and
Mm.
that worked out really well. That's carried on, and it's been great to see. Been great to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is a lot that people can do with pups. Even, they're obviously not even up to much until how old were the pups when they went?
They
The
went
one.
at 8 weeks old.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
So that I think even that last couple of weeks, because they don't even do much till they're about 6 weeks old. But I
yeah,
think I think, yeah, if people are even calm with like a 7 week old pup, and you don't even start with that, oh, the puppy, and all the like
exactly
full on
right. Yeah,
intensity
yeah,
and engaging with it and all of that, and bringing that out right from the start versus like keeping things calm right from the start. Just that calm praise, calm handling, it can just be like good pup.
yeah,
That
exactly right.
it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be, you know. Um,
that high pitched noise, like I've got 3 young children, and of course they want to come and see all the puppies. Like who doesn't like seeing puppies? Like you got to be mad if you don't. And
yeah,
so they like obviously, yeah, I've set some ground rules for them, and like, yeah, you can come see the pups, but when you see the pups, if the pups are jumping up against the wire fence, we're not going to pat them, we're not going to engage them. It's only when the puppies are sitting down and relaxed that's where we're going to pat the puppies nice and quietly and say, "Good puppy, good girl, good boy, whatever." And yeah, so that's just trying to keep, as you were saying in your last podcast there, you're just trying to keep the whole situation calm and relaxed and stopping the impulsive movements. I was trying to get that squashed at the very start,
mm,
especially with GSPs because they're very good with the impulsive movements. Trying to get on top of them is hard with the GSP.
yeah, they can be full on. And man, even just that one thing of disengaging when they're jumping up or being full on, and then only engaging when they're all 4 feet on the ground and relatively calm, and
Yeah,
especially right from the pup, because we don't do compliance and pressure in that first month.
that's right.
Um, but man, like where you can have them by 12 weeks old, if you do that first 4 weeks right, is pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
it
And
is so
yeah,
crazy. You're right. You're right, man. I still remember Vita. I chose Vita out of the litter, and I didn't like. I had a choice between like 10 puppies, and the only reason why I chose Vita is one, I wanted a girl, and the only other reason why is because she was the one that was actually very submissive to me. She was very coy, very very like almost extremely obedient from the start when I started talking to her or you try to engage with her. So that's why I chose her. But just even walking around the yard and as you said, there's no compliance or anything like that. But she would run up to me and she wouldn't jump on me. She just run up to me and then she would just stand there and she would just sit. And I couldn't help but pat her when she sat. And like she learned how to sit before I even taught her to sit. Like she just would come up to me and sit, and so I'll just pat her and say, "Good girl, good job," and that was it. That was all that the end of the lesson for the day. But and from there, she's just going leaps and bounds now. So yeah,
mm,
she's going well.
yeah, that's awesome, man. Um, uh, so Vader's the new pup's name, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Vita. Yeah,
Vader.
everyone Vita. Yeah, everyone keeps asking me where I got her name from. So um, everyone that come look at the pups, they were like, "Oh, which one's yours?" I'm like, "Oh, that's my girl. That's my girl. That's my girl." And there's an old movie called My Girl, had Brooke Shields in it and Macaulay Culkin.
I remember it. Yeah.
Remember it? Yeah. And anyway, and so I'm like, "Yeah, my girl. Yeah, I actually know I should probably look up what was that girl's name from My Girl, and her name was Vida. That was her name. So
That's
that's why I called her
classic.
Vida. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
I've never heard of another Vida as a dog. So
Yeah.
I try to pride myself in naming the dogs after uncommon names.
Yeah, no, that's a really good dog's name. Man, I that movie's a blast from the past. Far out.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I remember that from like primary school, man.
Yeah, yeah, that was Macaulay Culkin. He passed. He died in that. It was a very morbid movie actually for a kids movie. Like the dad used to own a crematorium, and the people would be in the caskets in the lounge room. It was yeah. Just thinking about the movie now, it was very very morbid for a child's movie. But anyway, that
I
was
can't remember the content of it, but I just remember it as like I remember that movie. I just Googled it and yeah, it was 1991,
there.
which
You go.
is
Yeah,
seriously showing our age here.
yeah. No,
Um,
I was 6 at the time. That
yeah,
was
that'd be about right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. For me too. Yeah, that's the age that I'm remembering it from. So how old's Vita now?
So Vita is what's today? Yeah,
Roughly.
so she will be turning 9 months in a couple of days' time.
Oh, you put that little clip up of her just walking past kangaroos and being relatively chill,
Yeah,
and some people in the comments were like, "Far out, that's impressive, far out."
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's just once again calm handling, but just giving her the opportunity as well to
mm,
engage with the kangaroos, and she'd engages like I wanted to. So, right from the get go, we walk past a bit of bush. We have walked past this bit of bush for ever since she was a pup, and she would see a wallaby or something like that, and she would look at the wallaby, and she'd stare at it and everything like that. And I would slowly walk up to her, and I'd look at the wallaby, look at her, and you give her a scratch on the bum, and I just point my hand forward and give her a double peep, and we just keep on walking. And so that pretty much just transfixed into every time she's seen a wallaby or some or a rabbit or whatever, something that caught her eye or movement, she would just stop and look and see what it is, and then she looked at it, she looked at you, yeah, let's keep on going, and we keep on going to the point now where she's like, okay, well, he doesn't care about rabbits, he doesn't care about plovers, he doesn't care about birds, he doesn't care about wallabies or kangaroos. We're just going to keep on moving past it, and to the point now where she smells the skin, and then she'll point the skin. She's like, oh, this is what I've got to point at. And she'll point at that.
on a
You're like,
deer.
on the deer skin, yeah. She'll point
Yep.
to deer skin, like, oh, yep, good girl, good job. And in we go, we're walking onto the deer skin. So, yeah, that took a little bit of coaxing and stuff like that. But that was just taking advantage of the situation and just using the fundamentals of the blueprint in giving um, praise on what you want and then pressure on what you don't want. And
Mm,
it came like that. And that worked out really well. So now, whenever we walk, if something is jumping or she smells something or sees something, she just looks at it, stays still, looks at me. And then if I just go, yeah, let's keep on walking, we just keep on walking. If I just stand there, she'll just stand there as well.
mm.
So
It's
that's working together.
yeah, it's that it sounds like just exactly that neutral interest that I
Yeah,
talked about in the blueprint, like with introduction to cows and how we use that to um oh, it has lots of uses really, but it stock proofs the dog and it introduces the dog to animals and non-target animals, and it's going to happen at some point. So if you don't do it, it's that's not good. So you do want to introduce them to animals. For you, it's happening anyway. So it's just happening in your environment while you're training, but you're just already prepared and handling it in the right way as it happens. And yeah, it's not, you don't want to yell at them and scream at them or make it a super negative deal. And you don't want to say good dog or nothing. It's just it like exactly what you explained there is actually really sort of subtle and nuanced and high level reading and handling.
yeah. Cheers. Appreciate that.
It really is like what you laid out there and how you handled it. Um, and like some of the highest level training and handling, it looks like if someone was watching, it's almost like nothing is happening.
Yeah.
It's just, there's just a dog walking and it stops, and there's a guy who walks up and gives a little pat and you carry on. But there's actually a lot that just happened in that little thing, and you're very carefully like measuring and reading and coaxing and just gently
Balancing everything.
manipulating and
Yeah.
easing the way through
Yeah.
to just like keep everything just perfect.
That's exactly right. Just trying to read everything and trying to move forward and just, yeah, just trying to preempt things as well as things keep happening. That's another hard thing. It's just what happens if the kangaroo jumps across the road? What happens if it, what happens if it does jump the other way? And how much reaction am I going to have? Am I going to come down like a ton of bricks, or like, what is she going to do in this situation? Things like that. That you're just going through your mind as this whole event unfolds in front of you. And but like that event has happened many times before that actually happened. I was just able to get that actually on video for once because I seen
Mm,
that opportunity coming up, and I
yeah.
knew what you were doing it. Which yeah, I'm very proud of the way she's doing, and that's like she's my second dog, and things are a lot more easier because you've you've gone through the first time, and you know what you would do differently and how you would do it to stay on that straight track, and you know what you will not compromise with, and you know what you're going to stick to, because you know that if you don't and you veer off the track, you know how much harder it is to bring the dog back onto that. So
Mm,
you just know, you just dig your heels in at some stuff and go, nah, it's going to happen this way, and this is how it's going to go, and that has paid off in dividends with Vita,
mm, yeah.
most definitely.
And that's yeah, and you're right, yeah, and there is some things that you have to be like super firm and clear cut on. Yeah, I just remember seeing that, and there's been a few different things that we've talked about over the years that I can just tell by the way that you talk about it and think about it that you are very aware of that situation there, that really nice neutral interest, and you're not like get out of there, and you're not like good girl, and you're not just it's very smooth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of balance in that, just like reading and measure and balance, and it's yeah,
Well, you
that's very good.
don't want to hype up the dog. You don't want to tear the dog down. You just
Yeah.
like just a simple touch. Sometimes a simple touch, it just speaks volumes for the dog. I feel
Mm,
just a little small scratch on the bum, or just a slight push of the knee to say, yeah, no, we're going to keep on going now.
yeah.
Just those small little things, I find the dog really takes that in and goes, okay, yeah, that's a signal. Yeah, we're all good. Like
Mm,
that's how a lot of dogs communicate. That's how a lot of dogs, like you watch one dog be dominant with the other dog, like they're standing on the other dog on their shoulders, as they're pinned down, and they're being very dominant over that dog. Just the smallest amount of touch, that if once the dog understands what that touch means, yeah, it's quite easy to have a sort of a dialogue with your dog after that.
mm,
I find, yeah,
yeah. And the more subtle it can be, like from the reading and timing and pressure and praise, and it's always the minimum amount of pressure or praise required to get the job done. And
yeah,
the more you can just keep on this nice, smooth, even keel right in the middle, and you're never setting the dog up to fail. So it's very rare that you actually have to go, good dog, because they've just done something that was really difficult, or yell at them and heaps of pressure because there's just been a big mistake. When everything's cruising real nice, it's just like good girl, and and they're like, oh, okay, and you're just like, because
yeah,
you're right on the line, you're not getting way off to the sides where you're like
yeah.
bark,
It's
you
just
know.
small
It's
corrections.
just
Small
yeah, it's just
corrections.
everything's nice and smooth, and you're just tapping it, just patting it on the side to keep it on the track.
Yeah, 100%,
And the
100%.
more you can just coast and sail through like that, the better.
Oh, most
Uh Oh, snake avoidance is quite an interesting topic, man. That
yeah, it is. It's a big thing over here in Oz. It's a huge thing over here in Oz. The actual snake avoidance training, there's not a lot of people that actually do it, and so it's a very specialized thing. But there are people that do it. Um, but like for me, like training Vita now, so like I'm keeping her training along with the blueprint, and you do the Kiwi aversion training towards the end of the blueprint, and that's what I'm going to do, the snake avoidance training. I'm going to do it then. So at the moment, she has got a kennel run. She's in a kennel run. It's high off the ground here, like it's 500. It's half a meter off the ground here. It doesn't keep out all snakes, but where she is in an open spot in the kennel, usually the snakes don't go there anyway, because a kookaburra or something like that will come down and grab it. Um, so they don't expose themselves in that sort of situation. But like, you're sort of trying to think of things and preempt things once again with the dog to make sure it doesn't come to harm. But like I take her for walks early in the morning, like just before in that pre-dawn period, before the sun comes up, before the sun hits the horizon, and you got that bit of daylight in between, the pre-dawn and the sun coming up. I usually take her on the walks then to avoid any snakes and stuff like that. And then constantly watching in front, making sure like you're not seeing any wriggly sticks in front of you or stuff like that, or watching the dog, making sure she's not seeing anything moving in front, which can be, it is a difficult task. But yeah, with the snake avoidance thing, like there are a couple of, like, there's lots of guys that want to do it at home, and it can be a hard thing to do. But like a couple of cheat things they can do is, like, you can talk to your local pet shop who sell snakes, or your local reptile shop, and say, do you have any, snake shed skin? And or do you get any? Oh, you do, mate. Here's my number. Can you give me a call when you collect some? And I'm happy to give you a 6-pack or pay you for it, or whatever the transaction has to be. But you've got then a piece of skin, because, like, as I think it's 9 out of the 10 most venomous snakes in the world live in Australia. So you don't want to just be picking them up off the street and putting them in the backyard and teaching the dog on them. So, but if you've got a piece of skin, teaching the dog off that, or some of the guys that do the aversion training actually use like pythons and things like that. They'll have a live python and put it, in a cage, and have that cage pinned to the ground. The dog will walk past it and do the same thing as the Kiwi version guys do, and they'll sniff and bang, they hit it with the shock collar. But mainly for me, and I've done this with Joan, if there's a snake and they come across a snake, I want them to get back to me. So like it's an automatic heel, like an automatic come. And as soon as they come back to me and they get in behind me automatically, I know that in front somewhere there they've smelled a snake, and it's just there somewhere off the track. And then, like, especially like if they're looking at that spot, as you're looking at them, they're looking at that spot, you know where it is. You just do a bit of a detour and off you go again. And like sometimes they don't smell the snake till they're on top of it, but you want them to have that reaction to go, oh, yep, I'm going to go back. Then they come sit behind you. You work your way around. And I think that works the best in our environment, because as soon as a dog gets tagged by a snake, where, you're 3-4 kilometers in, trying to get that dog not to move, carry that dog out and try to get it some anti-venom. Yeah, it's an extremely hard thing to do. And their bodies are very responsive to venomous snakes here in Australia, unfortunately, like especially black snakes. Like as soon as they get tagged by a black snake, they don't have much time, and it's quite a cruel way to see them go. So the more you can avoid that situation, the better. That's another reason why I only hunt my dogs in April through to September, maybe October, depending on where in Australia you are. But like obviously, the further down, the later you can hunt over them. But as soon as the temperature starts getting over 18 degrees, 20 degrees, it's a bit too. You start to run the risk of actually coming across snakes on tracks and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can get a shed skin like that, do you ever see, like, because around here with possums and stuff, we see dead possums and rabbits on the road all the time. Someone's running them over.
Yes.
If you and I don't know the legalities of things, if you're allowed to pick up a dead snake or whatever.
Yeah, I'll give you the legalities of it. You're not allowed to handle any native animal. You're not allowed to actually have in your possession
even a dead one. So you're not meant to pick it. Yeah, you're not allowed to pick a cake. So don't do that. So
don't do that.
Yeah, if you can get a shed skin,
yeah,
and essentially do what we do for non-target species aversion training with a shed skin.
Yeah, and then like you can even talk to your local snake catcher, and your local snake catcher, like you can have a chat to them, and if they're allowed to have in their possession as well. And if you just say, mate, do you mind just standing there and I'll give you a 6-pack? You just throw that snake over there for me. And you take your dog past it and do your little bit of training with the dog.
Yeah.
then like yeah, off he goes, and then you can do whatever you want to do after that. But like, yeah, he's just it's illegal for you to actually touch and to actually be in possession of any native animal unless you actually have a special
Yeah,
license
makes
for it.
sense. Yeah. It's all good. And I guess, yeah, like you say, and then when you can, if you can get one of those, there are professional people that do it too.
Yeah, you have to search for them a bit, but yeah, there are people that do it, and they usually wait for a class to form. So like they won't do it for one dog, but like if there's three, four, or five dogs and need it done, then they'll say, okay, we'll hold a class here, and then you drive your 3 hours or whatever, and you go do your class with them. So it's a very niche thing here in Australia, believe
Mm,
it or not.
yeah,
The land of snakes, it's a very niche thing here for hunting dogs.
yeah. Yeah, I looked it up when I was looking at coming over, and I did find there were a couple of operators there, but yeah, but like Kiwi version training here, like there's a few people around, but sometimes it can be a little bit hard to lock into a day, but you can if you pre-book it in that.
Yeah.
So when you say black snake, is that a red belly black
Red
snake?
belly, yeah. There's red bellies and yellow bellies, but yeah, usually
Right.
the most common on the eastern seaboard here is red belly.
Yeah.
You'll get them, all the way up to. I think you get them all the way up to North Queensland and all that, and then they'll traverse all the way down to the bottom end of Australia there. So
Mm.
there's
So
them. Yeah, that's the most common snake you come across is them, and then the eastern brown snake.
mm,
Yeah, where we are.
you
You
got
don't.
brown snakes there too?
Yeah, yeah, we got
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
There's your king brown snake. There's your eastern brown snake. Your black snake. There's the type. You got inland taipans.
Mm.
I'm sure there's a heap of other ones that usually I don't observe them close up. As soon as I see a stick moving in a fashion I don't like, usually I just try to avert that and try to get around it and leave it and go on my way. I usually try not to engage with them too much, but they're there. You're in the Aussie bush. They're going to be there. But if
Mm.
it's cold, they're not going to be moving. So you know when when the right time is to go out with your dog, and when you might get him with a chance of actually getting tagged by one. So you
I
just got
was
to wait for that.
I was telling you that when I was looking at coming over and doing some hunting, um, the more I was like, oh, pretty sketched out on snakes and stuff, and I was like, I'll research it because the more I know about it, the more I understand them. Like the less worried I'd be about it.
Yeah,
So once I have it, and I would like develop strategies and know what to do and stuff. The more I researched, the more I was just like, this is crazy, man.
yeah, yeah. I know.
It
But
is actually insane. Like the amount of people that get bit and how dangerous they are, and yeah, there's anti venom, but yeah, I was like, geez, this is hardcore.
yeah,
Um,
no, it's Aussie bush. It's the Aussie bush,
yeah,
unfortunately. But like, yeah, you learn to live with them, and you learn
mm,
you learn to avoid them and stay out of their way. But like,
yeah,
I've never been very fearful of them. But actually, there was one time just recently went on a buffalo hunt, and there was a death adder, which is like your number one. Your number one. Pretty sure it's your most deadliest snake in the world, and they're only that big. They are between a big one. I think is 8 or 10 inches. So that's a big one. And I remember walking along this track, looking down, seeing these buffalo prints, and then looking over, and then just this small death adder. I watched it just walk. It was only about 3 meters away from me, and like my heart skipped a beat because like if they tag you, you've got. I
mm.
think you got 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes before it's all over Red Rover. So
Is
yeah,
it the death head is quite a chill one though, eh? Like,
yeah. Well, as I said to you, I was 3 meters away before it started moving, and like
mm,
even watching it move, like they're that well camouflaged. Looking
mm,
over, as weird as it sounds, I didn't actually see the snake move. I just seen the ground move. So it was that well
yeah,
camouflaged,
yeah,
and I just seen it moving in the way of a snake, and just realized straight away what it was, and
yeah,
it just glues you to the spot when you see it. It glues you to the spot,
yeah.
and you watch it
And that's
keep going.
and researching them. That was what I like. what I found was the most dangerous part about it, and most people get bit like standing on them accidentally, or putting their hand on them accidentally, or gathering firewood, or gardening, or something like that.
Yeah.
And that yeah. And I think because I actually did do quite a bit of research, and I like watched all the videos I could on it, and I got like, some books on it too.
Yeah.
I think that from memory, the death adder is like pretty like one of the least, one of the most toxic venoms, but you kind of have to go out of your way to get bit by them. And some of them, was it the if I'm remembering rightly, the brown snake is generally like wants to move away.
Correct. Yeah, the black snake and brown snakes usually want to leave you alone. They want to go.
The taipan will give you a hurry up though, eh?
Yeah, no, the taipan. Yeah,
Yeah,
when that
they're a
thing
bit
kind of
more
frees
like
up and it starts moving towards you. You just
yeah.
you start
So
looking for you start looking for a stick that's not wriggling, and then you're trying to bait it away like a lion or something, trying to keep it away from you.
and from memory, the brown snake is very highly venomous. But they've got small fangs in their day, and they do a lot of dry biting. They'll just like whack at you, but
Yeah,
not sink the teeth. But the taipan has like big fangs, and
it comes down. It
when
comes
they
down.
bite, they they
They
sink.
pierce. They
Yeah,
get in. Yeah, they get
yeah
in.
they
They get
make
in.
it count.
Yeah, they do. They do make it count, unfortunately, and then like just the smallest prick makes it count, unfortunately. Like that's why we've got snake gators here in Australia as well.
Yeah,
But with the like, you got the king brown snake. The king brown snake is a larger snake than its eastern cousin, but the brown snake it needs a lot more venom injected into you compared to its eastern counterpart for it to actually do the same amount of damage. But as you said, the eastern brown snake's only got very very small teeth, and it pretty much does a couple of dry strikes before it actually latches on and tries to grab onto you. So you have, if you feel if you that's why most Australians worth their salt. If they're just standing there, the mate might come up and they might tickle their leg while they're standing there. You see them jump 10 foot,
yeah,
the other way. That's why. That's a reflex built into the typical Aussie man or woman. Like as soon as they feel that, usually you jump to the side and away from it. So
yeah,
yeah, that they all have their little nuances and all that sort of stuff, all different snakes. But yeah, for me, usually when I see them in the bush, they're curled up and they're trying to sun themselves or something like that. Because usually I only go hunting with the dogs in wintertime for that very reason. For that very reason. If we didn't have snakes, we'd probably be hunting, with the dogs 24/7 here in Australia. But like when that worried about them getting tagged, and you put so much time and effort into them, and like they end up being like your best mate. So you don't, you want to look after them and preserve them as much as possible. So yeah, for me, I just alleviate whole um, that whole situation by just making a season
yeah,
for hunting over them.
yeah. Yeah, that seems to be pretty standard practice over there for indicating dogs. It's just you just take the summer off, take those hot months off
Yeah, just
when
go
the
fishing. Just go fishing.
yeah, good, which is a great fallback plan.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what's your training at the moment? Like a 2 day cycle with Vita?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, in a previous podcast, like you can overtrain a dog. And I found I was actually starting to do that with Vita. I was starting to see signs of it, like I've heard, not what would be the right way of phrasing this. She wasn't as um, more of like, I know my job. Just let me do what I need to do, and stop trying to correct me, especially with the range and things like that. And so I pulled that right in, and so now I only train her every second day, and that's worked fantastically. And I'm getting really good results with her like that. Just taking her out, and like she responds really well to the training and things like that. So it just gets her focused and gets her looking forward to that, to our time spent together. But I usually work on a 2 day cycle. So on the one day I'll take her out in the morning. We'll do our 15 minutes, 20 minutes of training or whatever, bring her back, give her food and water, and then I'll come back and I'll put her back in her kennel run. I'll come back in the afternoon, and then I'll let her out for 10 minutes, and we'll just, we'll hang out for 10 minutes. Give her a pat. She runs around the backyard. She sniffs a couple of things and does what she needs to do. She's a dog, and then I'll let Joan out, and we have a little Jack Russell. I'll let them both out, and they have a play together, and it's a well controlled environment, and I'm watching them, and I'm making sure they're not getting too rough, and they're not creating a ruckus, or they're not digging or anything like that. It's very controlled. And usually it's mostly like Vita running and Joan barking and all that sort of stuff. But like I can call Vita in, and I'll do a bit of training in that situation too. Just get her to sit and relax while the other dogs are playing around, and just trying to reduce that intensity and that impulsive sort of that impulsive movements and play that she wants to do with them. But anyway, once she's done that 10 minutes, she goes back in the run, and she will be there till the next morning. The next morning, I'll let her out for another 10 minutes of me and her time in the backyard. Just I'll go feed the chickens, and I'll go collect some eggs, and go see what's in the garden, and check on the bees, and she'll follow me and do all that sort of stuff, and give her a pat and engage with her, and then I'll let the other dogs out once again. 10 minutes worth of structured play, put her back away, and I'll give her food, water, and then obviously I'll give her a bone as well, so she'll chew on that during the day. Then in the afternoon, I'll do the exact same thing with a structured play. The next morning, we're back doing the training again, and that has really just honed her right in, and she's become so very responsive with cues and picking up things with training, and she's just yeah, I find her a lot more attentive, and she looks at me a lot more now, and she's a lot more on the ball with it.
Yeah. You definitely can overtrain, and particularly, and that's what I've probably a subject and area that I've honed in on more over the last few years. But just if you back to that subject, that if you're doing everything right and you're not making a ton of mistakes, and your management's really good and you're not making a ton of mistakes, you just get so much bang for your buck out of the small amount of work that you are doing. And
100%.
like, less is more, and it's more about removing things and removing everything that isn't just calm and structure and chill and all of that, and having that time that she's getting to, especially around other dogs, and that she is getting that play and
Yeah,
interaction and time, but you're keeping it within limits. So you're not, it is good for them to be able to have a little run around and a bark and a play and stuff. But if it was to ever get like to that super intense overstimulation type thing, you can,
yeah,
hey, calm down, if it was going to
yeah,
get out of hand, or if it was going to go on for, it could get pretty full on, but only for 5 or 10 minutes, and then calm it down. Um, but and like in the bird dog boot camp, I got to the point where I was saying it was either 3, 4, or 5 days a week, which might seem like a weird random range. But depending what phase of training you're in and how much you're doing, and how full on it is, how it's all going, how old the dog is too, on lots of things.
yeah,
And it's more like, um, you definitely don't have to do 7 days every week, and it's probably almost best not to. And you probably don't even need to do 5 days every week, and it's pretty easy to drop it right back down to every second day, 3 days, 3 or 4 days a week.
yeah,
But certainly in some phases, and if everything's going well, you can bump it up and do 5 or 6 days some weeks, but it could be as low as 3 days other weeks. And it might go through phases where, for quite a while, you're training almost every day, short, chill sessions and stuff, and it's going really well. And then, especially as the dog gets older and you're sort of getting less and less to do, and you're waiting for to hit different time periods or markers. You might be waiting to when you might be going to wanting to finish your skin work, but you don't want to do tons of that. your range and stop drills are pretty good. So you don't actually have that much to do now till you do in New Zealand. You might be waiting until you do your Kiwi aversion training before you do something else, and
Yeah.
that's a month away or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Spot on. Spot on.
it's too much pressure and rinse and repeat over and over for no reason, and you just need to back off, chill out a little bit, and it can be every second day with more chill time around home. Another tool for people too is just those chill long line walks where you're still on the long line, so your range isn't going crazy, but you're not um, super tight, keeping them within a super tight close range.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not letting them. You're not trying to keep them in a 2 meter range window, no further away than 5 meters, and no closer than three. You're not hammering everything out and doing tons of turns. It's just a literally a chill walk on the long line where you do a couple of chill stop drills and some pats and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
yes, sometimes less is more, and you can back right off and chill out.
You hit the nail on the head there. Some of the guys that are going through the training right now, like in the past week, like you have a chat to them and they're getting frustrated because they're walking their dog in a in an oval or wide open space, and the dog's just pushing that range hard. But when they're taken to the bush, like these dogs are just fantastic. Like I don't have to hold the long line. They're staying 2, 3 meters in front of us. Everything is perfect. It's great. But when we're going for a walk, they're not staying in that range, or they're not standing right in front of us and everything like that, and they're getting frustrated with it. And like to one of the guys, I said like it in a couple of months' time, you're going to teach that dog to heel. That's going to get behind, and like when you're walking, you're going to be walking along the footpath with the dog at heel. So right now, you're putting pressure on that dog on something that is not even going to be relevant in two
Mm,
months time. You don't have to have that much pressure on the dog.
yeah.
So you take a step back, and it's going to be okay. Like it just work the dog. If the dog is working good in the bush, and that's great. Like that's exactly what we're training for, the dog to work close with you in the bush, and you're not having to do those turns. You're not going to have to do those overcorrections, and you've let go of the long line. That's where you're winning. You're on the home street. You're
Mm,
going well.
yeah. Yeah.
So
And
you know,
and it and it is one of those things, yeah, if you've laid that foundation and you've got a good structure and you haven't made a ton of mistakes and you have hit most of your markers, you've actually done enough work to be able to relax,
yeah, absolutely.
and you can coast through it and cruise through it, and you've got enough foundation, exactly what you just said. Um, and that getting to that point where you do teach that heel, that is a big marker too, that that sort of wraps the whole lot up and finishes it off. Some of the things that you're working on while you're working on them, you're only going to get them so good at that time, and it's not until later on when you train your heel, and having that heel as a tool later on does tighten everything up and sort
Yeah,
of connects the dog back to you a little bit
yeah,
tighter.
most definitely. Yeah,
And yeah, it is one of those things is you got to trust the process, and everything's going to smooth out, fall into place, particularly towards the end in that eight, 8 and 9, 7, 8, 9, particularly part 8, 9, and then you get on to 10, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sweet.
yeah. This has all come back into place. Yeah,
Yeah,
all the parts have now locked in together, and now it's working. Like
yeah,
it's yeah,
yeah.
like,
And there's quite a few things that you kind of do have to leave until those later parts. It's kind of like in part two, how we don't get into change of direction straight away.
yeah,
And you could start doing change of direction in part two with a real young pup. And until you start using change of direction, they just keep going out to the end of the long line over and over and over.
yeah,
And some
yeah,
people say, man, he's just hitting the end of the long line and just keeps going. And I just say it's all good. Just chill out. And in part three, you're going to get into the start of change of direction, and
yeah,
that's going to smooth that out. And then sometimes someone will be on part five and they're like, man, he's just real full on with his I changed direction, but they just come tearing back past the other way. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes it's like that at part 5 or 6, but wait till you get into non-communicative turns, and that's going to smooth that right out.
you
And
know,
and and
like,
exactly what you said, adding heel in is another big marker like that. It's like change of direction, non-communicative, change of direction, then heel. That's three pretty big waypoints that like in the
They're
system
huge
that
ones. They're huge ones. Yeah, like that 7, 8, 9. It's the real like just to quote you, it's a real meat and potatoes part of the program, and getting all those ingredients just right, and then at the end they all just come together and they work out really well. And so like that's a great like segue into like so I wanted to talk about with a lot of guys, and I'm guilty of this, especially on the inner circle. They've got a GSP, and they're doing their non-communicative turn. The GSP is running straight past them and getting in front as fast as they can, and just they wanted to calm them down, stuff like that. And I found with Joan when I actually worked this out, it was just like a godsend. But instead of turning around and walking their direction and the dog trying to run and catch up, I just turned around and just stood the other way. And she would, and like the first time, she just turned around and she galloped back, got in front of me at about 2 meters, and just stopped and looked at me as if to say, "What are we doing now?" And then just, "Good girl," off we go, and we go forward. And as soon as she broke range again, I'll just do the non-communicative turn, and I'll just turn and stand. And you could feel in the long line it was really slack, and then she come up past, and she just walk past in front and look, "Good girl," off we go. And so now, doing that with Vita, now I can like I didn't want her to be running past me, and it was just very slow turns I do now. With Vita, if I want to turn, I'll just turn, and I'll find as soon as I'm literally 3 quarters in the way of me turn, she's gone, "Oh yeah, no, we're turning," and she just walks past me, and I wait for her to get in front, and then we walk off. It's just just saying, "Yeah, we're still going to go this way," and put the hand out, and we're walking, and we're off again. Like, and then that's like, yeah, that and that to me, that was a big thing for me with Vita, and that brought a big smile on my face that she wasn't running past me, getting to the end, because that like we were deviating with Joan. I deviated off that track, and I was just like trying to rush her, trying to get everything sorted, trying to get everything squared, and getting frustrated. And I wasn't taking a calm, relaxed approach. My timing was off and things like that. And
Mhm.
just trying to get it back on track was just so much work. With Vita, I wanted to make sure I just stayed on track, and that worked out perfectly. And that has also helped keep her calm and relaxed as well, and keeping her less jittery, especially with the GSP, a young GSP. You know,
Again, that's another example of very nice, balanced, subtle handling.
yeah,
And just you're just seeing what the dog does, and that's just a real nice little adjustment and tweak, and just that little pad tap,
yeah,
just gently coaxing. And a lot of that is like calm. Talk about calm handling, and in the blueprint, in those later parts there, like I talk about actually walking quietly. And if you walk slowly and quietly, if you just, and I see that in one-on-ones a lot.
yeah.
um it'll sound silly, but we're trying to get their dog to slow down and walk slowly, but they're walking all full on and like talking all hard out and fast and everything's,
Oh,
and I'm trying to tell them like, just let's just slow down. There's that part in the blueprint where actually talk about what your feet, moving
yeah,
your feet quietly.
yeah,
So your adjustment of going a turn from a fast change of direction, and you're turning around and going fast, to just turning and stopping and wait, and you're waiting, and you're talking about the way the long line's moving and the slack in the long line and her coming past, and you wait for her to get past, and then you slowly start moving.
yeah,
All of those things, like all of the energy that you bring to the situation, your tone and your body language, and even the way you move, um, and you responding to the dog too. It's always like a two-way back and forth. And as soon as the dog sees that you're turning and you're really responsive, and you're now waiting for the dog to come back past. So you're watching the dog and you're responding to it with your tone and body language and movement. That gets them watching you too.
Yeah,
So
100%.
it's like a
Yeah,
two-way street.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Okay.
that's a really classic example of just really nice, um, subtle, calm, balanced, nuanced handling.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
there's a lot of guys that I know that are going to listen to that last part we just spoke about, and they're gonna get all white knuckled and go, "That's it. That's exactly what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing wrong." I know there's a lot of guys that, yeah, and yeah, you're right. Calm, relaxed handling is
mm,
how you get a calm, relaxed dog. I feel.
yeah, it is, and the subtleties of handling, even right down to the way someone pets their dog or the tone of voice, and I remember saying to this guy, and he was literally cracking up at me, like he literally did not think it was a thing. Um, with the stop drill, how you get your dog sitting and then you step in and pat it, and then you step back and then you move and you step back in and pat it. He was like, I'm trying to think of it. He was just like sort of stomping in and like banging it on the head and stepping back and in and out. And he was just super mechanical about it.
Yeah,
And yeah, his whole energy, and the dog was like sitting there and almost jumpy and like, where's he going now? Oh,
yeah.
this is the
What's
point
he
where I get
doing?
whacked on the head and stuff. And I was like, you meant it's a pat. Is that a pat?
Yeah,
What? That's not a pat, bro. You're stepping in and banging it on the head. And I'm like, and I was showing him, and I was saying, step in nicely and smoothly and give her a proper pat. This is a pat. And he
yeah,
was like, he was honestly like, come on, man, this guy's taking the piss. But those finer details, that's the juice, man. That's
yeah.
the real juice
The dogs
of
can read that. The dogs can read it 100%. I
it's
yeah.
yeah, or the subtleties of it, and yeah,
When
that
you
those real finer points of handling are really, really important. Yeah, make a
oh,
huge difference.
no, they are. They are. You're 100% right. I think even you. I think it was one of your podcasts. I think it was. But I listened to a podcast and they were talking about how um, the um, the dog handler left a sausage or something in front of the dog and said, "Don't touch it. Leave it. As in, sit and don't move. Leave the sausage alone." And the they've taken the trainer out, right? And the actual people running the experiment come over and they grab the sausage and they throw the sausage away. And then the trainer comes back in and sees the empty plate and is instantly angry at the dog, and they've got a frown on their face, and the dog instantly changes and has a guilty look and is like, "Oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble because the sausage is gone," right? But like the dog has read those facial features, and so when I do talk to the guys about like training the dog, like don't uh, without yeah without having a nice way to say it, it's like don't have a resting bitch face. Like be have a smile when the dog walks past and does something good. Smile at the dog and actually be genuinely happy, and the dog will know that you're happy. Because
Mm,
if you have a frown on your face, the dog thinks that they're doing something wrong. So yeah, just be calm and relaxed with your emotions as well,
yeah.
and you'll find that the dog will pick up on that language a lot more better and will be won't be as angst when it's doing what you command it to do.
Man, I don't think I've ever spoken about this in a podcast or in the blueprint or anything, but I do a thing where, particularly when I'm starting with a pup,
Yeah,
where just in the throughout the day, um, is a mindset thing for myself, and they know, man, is this probably sounds like cheesy as and corny as, but especially as a pup, but actually right through their whole age, I'll pick them up and just I'm thinking about how good they're going to be.
Yeah, right.
And I'm
Okay.
saying, good, like, good boy. And I'm like, talk like with print.
Yep.
And I'd
Yep.
be like, you're gonna be a little weapon, bro. And
Yeah.
I'd like be stoking myself up and patting him about a good boy. We're gonna get heaps of deer, and man, you're gonna be a weapon. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
all stoked in that. And yeah, I do that all the time. And then I try to take that energy into training. Um, but it's got to be balanced too, though, and you've got to be able to go when they need it as well.
100%. You can hype the dog up, and it's once again it's a timing thing. A timing thing. If the dog's hyped up, and you just want to calm down a bit, then you can put a bit of pressure on with the frowning face. I find, especially with Vita, if she sees me in the kennel and I walk past and she starts lifting those front legs up and just give her a bit of a frown and she'll stop. Then I'm smiling again. Good girl. Good job. Good girl.
Mm.
And that's yeah. I think you're 100% right. Just invoking those sort of I don't know what you want. Maybe it's a hormonal thing they can smell or adrenaline thing they can smell. I don't know, but yeah, they know they're doing well, I suppose, and you're trying to emulate that to them. Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that.
I think just kind of exactly what you were saying. Don't have the resting bitch face, and as soon as you're in like a mindset of man, I don't know if this is going to work or this isn't going to plan, and you're getting mad and you're putting pressure on the dog, and you're in that
Yeah,
recovery mode or that mode of I don't know if this is going to work. The dogs do pick up on that, so that kind of has to be like the overall thing for me is it's a good positive thing, and it's that you're going to be a little weapon, bro. But then when we're working and training,
focus.
it's focus,
Yeah,
it's focus, but we're focused on a positive point and a positive thing, and we both know we're going to get there. Um, and we're focused on it, and committed to it. But yeah, there's got to be that underlying sort of positivity and confidence.
yeah,
And when you are like, hey, we're not doing that because remember, this is going to be good, so we're not mucking around and doing that bullshit. That's what the art is. It's like,
yeah,
hey, no, that's not the path.
yeah, yeah,
And then over here, yeah, and then when things are going well, good boy, this is us, good boy, yeah, you know. Um, but yeah, that whole tone and very subtle body language and everything. You can't be like, oh, I'm in a hurry. I just need to get this training session done so I can get back and finish and step in. And
yeah,
the pat's
100%.
not a bang on the head. It's like, good boy, you're gonna be
Yeah,
a weapon, you know?
100%. Yeah, that's the mindset you need, most definitely. Like if the training session is not going well and you are frustrated with the training session, just put your dog on a sit, give it a pat, and then just head off back. Like it's okay. Like you'll get another chance at this, and if you're hyped up, just calm yourself down, and then yeah, like it's you're once again like you're talking to a 3-year old at best.
Mm,
I'm trying to get her to do something, and like um, I actually find that people need as much training as what the dog does. To be really honest with you, like I've found this with talking to some guys, like they need a lot of like they've got a lot of questions as to why or when or how, and then you explain it to them just the way you explain it, in your podcast, and they go, oh, okay, yeah, and the penny drops, and they go and do it. But like they're not running blind, but it's their first time experiencing such things, and so they're trying to get their head around it as well, and they're confused a little bit and trying to make sure everything works properly, and it is hard when you're in that situation, I suppose, to go, am I doing this right? And to back yourself. But
mm,
it's okay. Just chill. You got the best dog in the world. It's okay.
mm.
That's all
Yeah,
you got to think about. I've got the best dog in the world, and just keep on going on and you'll get there.
yeah.
You will get there. It's not that hard.
Yeah, break it down into little blocks and slices and just
Yeah.
yeah, watch the blueprint, work out what you're working on, try to get the best plan you can, try not to be distracted in a rush and just have a good, solid, simple little plan for each training session and just
Swear
take
by.
little bites. And if you're doing it like that, you're going to be fine. And so just try and enjoy it as much as you can, basically.
No, 100% right. 100% right, Paul.
So Joan she was ready at about 16 months, eh?
Yeah. So that was her first hunt at 16 months.
Yeah.
I wanted. She was probably at 14, but just an extra 2 bit of months. Those 2 months, a bit of polish on them, and
Mm.
like we did a lot of walks into the national park behind us, and she was all good through that. And yeah, it's just at 16 months, I'm like, yeah, let's go, let's have a look. And we were allowed out for COVID, and we went out, and like her first hunt went like, yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better a hunt for her to show her skills and stuff like that. And yeah, she was ready to go. And Vita will be 12 months in at the end of April. And I don't want to hunt over her during the rut or the raw or anything like that. That's when it's here in Australia. So I want to at the beginning of May, I want to take her out, and I feel like I'm confident enough to say she will be there at that stage. If she's not, I'm happy just to put more polish on her and wait till that 13-month mark. But I spoke to a young fella today who wanted some skin, and I reached out to him and go, yeah, look, I've got some skin if you want some, and he's doing the blueprint, and his dog, he put all the fundamentals and stuff into the dog earlier on, and now the dog is 2. Now he's actually putting it through its paces and moving forward with it because it's now mature enough to do that, and that's it's really cool to see that someone's gone, you know what, this when I've got the proper time and the dog's mature enough, I'll put it through when it needs to be. And like he's doing that now. I'm like, that's so good. Like that's you're actually doing the dog justice by doing that, I think.
So he's not you mean he's starting it later?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he did the early stuff when it was like he actually got the blueprint before he purchased the puppy. Got the puppy, and he said life got in the way and everything like that, and the dog had all the fundamentals there. It was good house. It's a good house dog. It's got good manners, everything like that. And now he's actually going to put it through, skin drags and getting it, to walk in front, at
Mm.
the right range and everything like that. And I thought that's like, yeah, that's so cool that dog's now got enough maturity to now go, right, well, this is what we're going to do, and he's got that rapport with the dog and stuff like that. So the dog takes as long as the dog takes. Like
Mm.
there's no need to rush the dog. And to be really honest with you, most of the time it's because of the actual owner of the dog, not the actual dog's fault. I suppose it's just the situation. I think so. Like
Mm.
you got a family, you got kids. Life gets in the way, and like you can't put as much full on training into the dog. You're doing those calm walks and things like that. Well, that's life, but like, um, yeah, some GSPs need. Well, in my world, we've got heaps of GSPs. We like if the dog takes 16, 18 months, so be it. And like that, like when you take that dog hunting for the first season, I found like it's good and great to see that they're doing what they need to be doing as they're doing it. But that second year and third year, like they start, like you don't think it can get any better, and they start cranking and start finding deer, 4, 5, 600, 800 meter walks, and like just working out where the deer are, and finding that deer's walked back on itself, and you're working with the deer and things like that. Like it all starts to come to fruition, especially in that third, fourth year. That's the best time. That's the slaying time, I find,
Mm.
in those years.
Yeah, 100%. They just get better and better. Man, I just had a bit of a light bulb moment there. Like talking about that timing thing, you're right. There is no hurry. Like if you knock it out of the park and you do everything right, even with the GSP, we've had plenty of people start GSPs and visitors around that 12 months old. I think a lot of GSPs and visitors for a lot of people, yeah, 15, 16, even 18 months old is
Yeah, agree.
probably a good time. But you remember the quadrant thing from my last podcast, the solo one that I just did, the matrix thing.
No, yes, yeah,
And then we've just talked about how you can chill out on the training and you can even train every second day at times. And particularly later on, you can do that.
yeah,
one other really big sort of block to that matrix. So you've got the training, mistakes, management, and the quality of your end result. One other big, huge factor of that is time.
Yeah, yeah,
And uh, having more patience, you probably need to be pretty on the ball early on when they're really young, sort of up to that 8 or 9 months old type of bracket.
yeah,
Um, but once they're past that and you've got most of your foundation and now they're having more freedom session and time inside and all of that sort of thing, um, then you can start to stretch it out and do what that guy's say you're saying more chill walks and stuff, and he's going to start that dog a little bit later. That using that for leverage, if you have been busy and you're not a super experienced handler and you don't feel like you're quite on top of it, giving yourself more time and letting the dog get older and spend more time smoothing all those end bits out and take it through to 20 or 24 months,
yeah.
that is going to help you get a much better result, like for less work or the same amount of work than trying to force it through and rush it. If it's your first dog or you have been busy or you've made a few mistakes, a bit of extra time is going to be a great antidote to that.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And the pressure you are feeling is the pressure you are putting on yourself.
Mm. Yep.
You are in charge of that pressure. Like especially when it comes to your dog, the pressure you are feeling is the pressure you're putting upon yourself. So just get rid of that and take your time with the dog. When the dog is ready, the dog is ready. You'll
Mm.
know when the dog is ready, and you'll go, "Yep, let's do it. Let's get it done." And when that time comes, that's yeah, be it 18 months, be it 24 months, it doesn't matter because you're gonna have that dog indicating you for the next 10 years. Like
Yep.
you're gonna have a dog for 10 years, and like you've got your first one, and like yeah, you're gonna have so much fun ahead of you. So like, why not give it the best possible start?
Mm. Yep.
You
Yep.
know?
And yeah, and it's great if you can have them ready and start them at 12 months or 13 months old. That's awesome. But if you haven't, man, there's no panic. And in a lot of, as long as you're not making mistakes, as long as your management's good and you are getting enough in and you've laid the foundation, if anything, more time's just going to help you and like take all the pressure off and get a better result and all that sort of stuff.
And they only get better. They only get better with time.
Yep.
The dogs do. More handling, the more experience they get, the more time in the bush, all
Mm.
that sort of stuff just accumulates and then just gives you your percentages. And your percentages keep going up and up and up and up, and then your success rate goes up and up and up as well because of it.
Mm.
So
Yep.
yeah, no, you're right. You don't, especially with your first dog. Yeah, you don't, and especially with a GSP, like they once they get to that, they get past that teenage stage and they get into the maturity end of it and they start working with you really well and they're on the dial, you're on the dial, you're working well together, everything like that. Like those like that switched on dog, so much more of a pleasure to hunt over that something hasn't been finished or polished off very well, and you just get frustrated with the dog and end up regretting taking that dog out. Just
Mm.
have the dog ready to go perfectly, and then when you do take it out, it makes a much more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, let's just take a quick break, eh? We'll be
Yeah,
back.
yeah, no worries.
Righto. So we're back from our break. We've kind of already talked about a lot of this stuff, Frank, but I guess one thing that we could go over or what your take is on it and what you've done with your dogs is like the routine and management with kids and other dogs.
Yeah, yeah. So um, with the pups, like raising the pups, as I've touched on before, just they engage with the pups when they were sitting down. If they were standing up on the fence, they wouldn't engage with the pups, and it was only very small amounts of of engagement with the puppies at the time. Don't want them hyping up, making a really high pitched noises, getting really excited. Just nice, calm, relaxed handling, and that's the kids took that off me very easily, and then transferred that to the dogs, and that worked out really fine. And the dogs puppies ended up turning out very, very calm, which was good. But even when I'm walking with Vita out in public, I like with engaging with people. Like she's only 9 months old at the moment, and I just wanted her to stay calm and relaxed. So lots of people, when they see a puppy dog, the first thing they do is, "Oh, what a nice little puppy dog!" And they got the high pitched noise, and the dog picks up on that and gets really excited, and it's like that those impulsive moves start coming back out of the dog, and you're trying to alleviate all that. So now, and what I've been doing with Vita is like, if we're walking and there's someone coming, and I see someone coming, I'll actually just veer off the path and just put her on a sit next to me, and I'll just wave at the lady, and and or the gentleman or whoever's walking past, and they go, "Oh, that's a lovely puppy." "Oh yeah, no, we're just doing a bit of training at the moment, just making sure we're not being impulsive and rushing at people." And "Oh yeah, no, it's very nice," and they just walk off, and then off we go, and we continue on with our walk. That's worked out well. And then engaging with other dogs, like, some people will walk with you with a leash dog. So once again, I just put Vita on the sit. I'll stand in front of Vita, and, they will, walk past, say g'day, or they'll stand there and talk to you. And then, their dog might come over to Vita and sniff Vita or something like that. And that's totally fine. And she's just being calm and relaxed and sniffing them. That's great. If she gets up off the sit, nah, sit, good girl. And then, you back to engaging with the person that owns the dog, and then they take off, and off we go, and it's like, it becomes a nothing thing, just a nice calm relaxed attitude towards that. And then, like, there was an instance where I was walking past, and there were some people, and they had like a caravan set up, and they must have been feeding their dog, and this German Shepherd has just bolted. I heard the bark first, then I heard the person. When you hear that bark, and then you hear the people yelling, going, "Oh, come back! Oh, Rufus, where you going?" And you're like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting." You turn around, and, like, yeah, in cometh the big German Shepherd, bounding towards and barking. And so, like, I actually just picked up Vita. I just picked her up and just turned around, and this dog was just walking around sniffing Vita, and I just made sure I put myself between her and him the whole time. And then the owner came, grabbed the dog, said, "I'm really sorry." "No, that's all right." Put Vita down. She's on a sit. And so, just being, for me, with Vita, being in the forefront and going, "I'll handle this situation. Let me jump in front. It'll be fine." It's worked out really well, to the point now where she just sits there, and other dogs will go and sniff her now. She'll sniff other dogs, and then, like, if I wanted to play, I actually have a command now, and I just go, "Away you go," and then she can go play with the other dogs. But she's got a really good recall, so if she gets a bit out of hand, I can call her straight back, and she'll sit next to me. So, yeah, with other people and other dogs, that's how I usually handle Vita. And with other kids, like, kids want to come up and pat your puppy, and that's fine. And so I'll just say to them, "Yeah, no, you can pat her, no worries. I'm gonna put her on a sit. She'll sit down. While she's sitting down, you can pat her, and you just pat her here on top of the head, nice and gently. And we're not going to make any high pitched noises or anything like that. Just stay nice and calm. And then, you can be on your way, or whatever you want to do there. And then, and most of the time, kids go, "Oh yeah, great, I get to pat the dog," and they pat the dog. "Good job, good boy, good girl," whatever. And then, "Thank you so much," and off they go. And then, Vita's like, "Oh yeah, I just got a pat. That's great. Let's go." Off we go. We go for a walk again. So it's just staying calm and relaxed in the situation, I suppose.
Mm, yeah.
So,
So it's actually really simple, eh? And it's kind of like same thing. It's a lot of it is about what you don't do, and it's actually super simple, common sense stuff. But again, very calm and quite structured, and the
yeah,
same principles. Disengaging, especially like right from a really young pup with other people and kids and things. When the pup's jumping up and being all full on, you just disengage with that. You engage with them and pat them when they're calm. And if,
yeah,
if kids do want to pat them and meet the pup, if you can have the pup calm and pat the pup when they sit or all 4 feet on the ground and not jumping up and too excited. And the pups, they actually learn quite quickly, like you were saying earlier. It might have been before we started the podcast with Vita, how in that first month, even with zero pressure or compliance or anything, just by disengaging if she was on her feet, basically just every time they sit, you pat them,
yeah, Yeah, that's exactly
Event
right. Yeah.
they
So
they learn to come up and sit down, and they actually, like Mika, if she wants a pat to this day, and then that they learn that habit when you use these principles of handling and management and that. Um, if they want a pat, they actually walk up and sit down and
yeah,
walk up and sit down. And a lot of people do it the opposite as the pup comes, runs up and jumps up, and they pat them when they jump up and then ignore them when they sit down. So they're training the complete opposite.
yes,
There's
exactly
some
right.
really good stuff in that in the Palmico dog guide. That's all in the blueprint too, but there's a bit more on that in the Palmico dog guide. There's that lady, really nice lady on the beach that
Oh yes,
and
yes,
she just did it real classic. And I asked, "Oh, is it all right if I use? I'm making some videos on dog training with my dog. Can we use these clips and that?" She said yes. Um, but yeah, she just that was a real classic capture of the classic yeah, you engaged with Miko when she come up and was all full on, and she
yeah,
patted, "Oh, aren't you a lovely girl, good girl?" And as soon as Miko hopped down and was normal, then she disengaged. So it's actually like reversing that, the
yeah.
complete opposite. And it's super simple, um but the difference that it can make when you get it wrong versus right is huge.
Oh, massive, absolutely massive. And like, yeah, just to reiterate that point, like Vita, that first month when she was following me around and was no compliance or anything like that, but she would come up to me and like she just did it in a stage. It was quite funny to watch, and like obviously it starts from day one. But she came over and she's like, oh, I'm free now. I'm free now. She's having a really good time. She's really excited. She comes over and she jumps up, and when she jumped up, I just walked away, stood there, and she came up next to me, and then she put one paw on me. And I walked around again and then moved away. And then she come up beside me and just sat. And when she sat, I just bent over and just gave her a pat and said she was a good girl. And then I walked over, a couple of meters and stood there, and she just followed me and then just sat next to me again. Good girl. And that just she worked that out at such a young age. And so now I'll just walk, and if she comes up next to me and I see her and she wants a pat, she'll just sit. As to say, now it's time for you to pat me. And I'll just give her a pat, just instant pat as soon as she sits. Good girl, good job. And she
Mm.
just, most of the time, she lays down next to me and she's like, she's happy as. But yeah, she's not jumping up because you don't want whatever a puppy is doing at 6 weeks, it's all well and good for them to be jumping up on you at that age. Um, for being a puppy and being excited, and people don't see what they can turn into. But when that puppy weighs 300, 400% of what it is then, and starts jumping up on you and pushing you over, yeah, it's all about structure from the very start. And yeah, you're right, the earlier you can get onto it, the better. And you have, yeah, you're doing that. It's not reverse psychology, but it's just you're reverse engineering the dog, pretty much is what you're doing.
Mm. It's yeah, it really is one of those things. And yeah, like you said, it's all very well to be all making a huge fuss and, oh my God, isn't it cute when a tiny little puppy's jumping up on them and that. But that's the thing that especially with a GSP, that could be a 45-kilo dog at
Yeah,
some point. And if you carry on down that road of engaging with that hype and hyping them up and doing everything wrong and doing everything opposite, so often it goes from a situation where someone's like, "Oh, but I've got kids and it's got to be a family dog, so I want it to play with the kids." It gets totally out of shape until the kids don't want to play with the dog because all it does is jump up on them and claw them and all of that, and it turns into a nightmare. And the
yeah,
dog loses out that way. So, yeah, sort of employing those principles and techniques and handling and things right from the start, um, just to have it's just basic manners, really.
it
Yeah.
is. You're right. It's just basic
Yeah.
manners. Like even now, I've got a 5-year-old son, loves coming in the backyard. And so when it comes to Vita, it's like a structured engagement with Vita, with him and I and her. Like that's all structured. But with Joan, like I'm happy to have Joan in the backyard with me and him, and I don't have to watch her as much because he'll call her, she'll come up, and the only thing that she does that is like when a typical GSP just likes pushing that envelope just that little bit. Is she'll actually come up to him and she'll just stand in front of him, and she'll just start just to lean. She'll just lean on him a bit to say, "I'm just here. I'm just here." Give her a pat. You give her a pat, and then typical 4-year-old pats for 30 seconds and just wants to move on to the next thing and tries to find a lizard or whatever they do, and she will just go back around him, stand in front of him and just lean back on him again and just wait for the pat to come. Like she's worked him out
Yeah.
and she's worked out a way of, her staying calm and relaxed and like she knows if she gets excited, then like kids don't want to engage with her. But if she just stands rock still, she puts a bit of pressure and it just moves a bit, that they'll engage with her and give her a pat and stuff like that. So yeah, that having a well-mannered dog just makes life so much easier because imagine if they're a 45-kilo dog and jumping on kids that young, like
Mm.
yeah
That, that's the thing too, is it's not as if it has to be like super dry and serious and never running and playing and things. The whole thing is using that structure and um like balance and limitations and that early on to make sure it doesn't get out of hand and get into a bad place.
yeah
And then once you have that structure and those basic manners, then later on the kids can run around and tear around and throw balls and play and stuff. But you've got that structure to fall back on, and now you've got that. Hey, slow down, calm down, and even the kids can say, "Hey, no," and the dog actually has yes, no, good, bad,
yes
speed
yes
up, slow down. Like you've got some controls on them
and a range of control too, yes, most definitely.
and a range. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you don't end up in that position where things are totally out of control when you've got no brakes.
100%.
That's the thing. And you can actually play. I like do silly play around stuff with Miko. And like sometimes when we go for a walk out in the paddock and we were talking about it just before on the break. She's 8, she's going to be 9 next year. And sometimes you walk out in the paddock and she gets all silly and I like jump around and she does a big zoomy and stuff like
Yeah,
it. We
yeah,
still play around and muck around. But yeah, it's we have structure and it's all about avoiding that situation where things get totally out of shape, which can happen. Yeah, but no, that's good, man, because that is and it's good to because I don't have kids, so it's good to talk to people and for other people that are following the series to hear from people that have done well that do have kids and how they have managed it and how it's
yeah.
worked out and things like that. It's quite a common question. No, so that's good. We've pretty much covered everything, man. Our last three notes here, which is pretty dangerous as far as like how long we could talk about them, is hunting, fishing, and your buffalo hunt.
Oh yeah,
Um, on what's this ferreting thing?
yeah. Like so, yeah, because I think over there in New Zealand you have stoats. I think are they
We,
stoats or those
we've got
little
stoats and ferrets in New
yeah,
Zealand.
and they're wild, right? They're wild. Is that right?
Yep.
They're feral or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
So like you actually go out and you actually try to what's the word from you eliminate them or you eradicate them as
mm,
part of the landscape. Yeah. So like here in Australia, uh, I grew up with ferreting. That's how I started with my hunting journey, I suppose whatever you want to call it there. But like you know, my my grandparents and parents moved over from Europe, and that's all they ever did was doing ferreting. And so we did it here in Australia, and just you put the ferret down the hole, and usually you put out your rabbit nets or your purse nets they call them. They bite the rabbit on the bum. The rabbit will launch out of the warren. They'll hit the purse net, and then they'll be caught up in the purse net. And sometimes like you'd have one rabbit comes out, and then the second one will be following, and the first one gets caught in the purse net, and the second one bolts, and then that's when you got the 12 gauge there and you follow up with the 12 gauge and you shoot it with that, and that was the beginning of my hunting when I was a young fella, and I was just I was the dog. I would go, yep, off you go get that rabbit, go get him, go fetch him, go bring him back, and like even like my dad would take his belt off, and he would put his belt around my waist, and then put the end of the belt under his foot, and he would put his foot on there so I didn't break. When he shot a rabbit, I didn't break and go grab the rabbit. I'd wait till he'd take his foot off and go, okay, go get the rabbit. So that's yeah. Anyway, that's how it
Hilarious.
started. Yeah. So that's how it started for me. But yeah, I thought I imagine you don't have it over there in New Zealand. So
I
yeah,
know someone that does that full time for a job.
really
Yeah. Yep.
in New Zealand,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
A girl too. But
really there's a
so
girl, right?
we have rabbiters here, especially like down Otago, down south and places where there's heaps of rabbits.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
particularly back in the day, that was more common because there's places with heaps of rabbits. And so a really good full-time rabbiter will have a heap of ferrets that are all trained, and you'd know all about that.
yeah.
Um, and also a heap of dogs.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they'll use
Breakfast and all that. Yeah.
yeah, yep.
So
Greyhounds and greyhound crosses and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
And so there'll be a big rabbit warren, and yeah, they'll set up nets all over them, and there's heaps of rabbits and really big warrens and that. So, yeah, multiple ferrets and heaps of dogs and nets everywhere, and then put the ferrets down, and there's rabbits hitting nets and rabbits making for the tree line with greyhounds behind it and
yeah.
shit getting
Chaos,
snagged. Just
absolute chaos. Yeah,
absolute chaos, man. And I remember thinking like that, and sometimes they shoot too. They'll
yeah.
have a she said that her dad comes and that he's a really good shot on the shotgun and that. But
I
yeah,
It can be nerve wracking because you might be standing up there for like 10, 15 minutes, and then you might feel a rumble, or might hear a rumble of something about to come out, and then like you've gone from being relaxed, and then oh, there's a rabbit, and then you're up straight away trying to get a beat on him and trying to get him as he comes out. So that's yeah, I mentioned because that's how it cut me teeth, and like I always dreamed about having a dog that would actually go and fetch the rabbits, and I've got that now. I've and like talk about impulse control. Yeah, having a dog next to you, and then the rabbit comes out, and you can go watch, and then you hammer the rabbit with the 12 gauge, and then you go fetch. Out she goes, grabs it, brings it back, good girl, and she'll just sit there at heel, and you're ready for the next one to come out too. Like that's where it all started off for me, wanting a dog to do that, and just yeah. But that's why I mentioned ferreting because I didn't know whether you had a lot any ferreting over there because I know you had stoats and wild ferrets, but I wasn't quite sure whether you actually used them for anything. And like you don't have foxes over there either.
uh,
No foxes over there, no roadmart.
no foxes. No. Oh yeah, I've never done any ferreting, but yeah, it is. There's actually quite a bit of it over here, and some people do it like full time for a job.
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go.
But that it sounds really fun to me. Like the way some of the rabbiters do it here with their dogs. It's obviously works really well for them, and it's really effective and important and all of that. And their dogs are probably really good at it and stuff. But it's absolute debauchery for me as far as we train with indicating
Oh,
dogs,
most definitely, yes.
because their dogs are just like waiting by the hole and breaking when the rabbit comes out. But
Yeah,
it's obviously super effective the way they do it and what they're doing. But that like snap shooting rabbits coming that ferrets are flushing out of holes and then
yeah.
having a steady dog retrieve them, that's you don't get much more fun than that.
No, I agree. I agree.
That is that is some good stuff.
I'll always like. I know that when we do, we'll do our deer hunting and all. That's what we mainly concentrate ourselves on. But when we do our rabbit shooting, it just brings us back to our pastime, especially for me and the family. And you stand back and you remember like how you did this 36 years ago. You were sitting there just wishing a rabbit would come out in front of you, and then your old man could nail it, and you could go and grab the rabbit and bring it back, and then you'd skin the rabbit, and then you'd give it to your grandma, and she would cook it up, and you'd have it for Sunday lunch, and stuff like that. And that's pretty much how I cut my teeth, is doing that sort of stuff. And then yeah, and then you progress from there, I suppose. But I wanted to mention it to see if you've done any of it or anything like that, because you've done pretty much everything else over there. I was wondering if you've done any ferreting over there. That's all.
No, yeah, that's real. I haven't done it, no, but I'd love to. Yeah, and it'd be really fun. It'd be freaking awesome. Um, and it's one interesting point, not to bloody segue it back into the dog training and that's the serious side of it from here, but um, how once you do have all of your structure and stuff, um, some people would be like, oh, you can't use a deer dog on rabbits, or you couldn't do this, or you couldn't do that. Once you have like a really good structure and everything set up, there's heaps that you can do and be
Yeah,
fine, If
most
everything,
definitely.
if everything's all steady and stuff. I've used my indicating dogs on goats as well for indicating goats, and Tessa, again, that dog behind me there. When I was still doing possums for fur, I used to shoot possums and she used to retrieve them.
All right. Yeah,
Saved me an incredible amount of work at times in some of the situations.
that's so
Um,
cool. That's so cool.
and you wouldn't think that you'd use a deer indicating dog in New Zealand for retrieving possums, but it was okay. And she indicated the odd possum, but she never took me far to a possum. And she learnt pretty quick too when we were deer hunting and when we were after possums,
Oh
and
yeah.
and pretty quick when we were deer stalking in the bush with the big rifle during the day. She just wouldn't indicate possums. Um, I was shooting a big cutover, talking about, and this was bloody fun too. Um, I was shooting like pine cutover. There's a big
Right.
pine block,
Yep.
and I had a
Yep.
four wheeler in it. So imagine a big pine cutover block, um, with gravel roads all through it,
Yep. Yep.
and all open. And there was these big skid sites that were these. I think that's where the possums were living, and there was these huge big piles of old logs that must have been
Yep.
all the unusable stuff.
Yep.
I think all the possums that were way out in the cutover were using these huge old skid sites. That was all their nesting.
Right.
So at the right time of night, and if you went, you had to go later when they'd actually got right out of those skid sites, and you'd sort of have these big dead long rides through the cutover with nothing. And got to know where the big skid sites were.
Right.
And so it was a game. And once they'd had a bit of pressure on them, it was a game of like flying flat stick into the skid sites,
Yep.
and all the possums would be out in the open cutover, sort of out to about as far as you can shoot with a 22, really, maybe up to 100 meters. Most of the shots probably around 50 meters,
Yep.
20 to 50 meters, sort of thing.
Yep.
And you basically cut the possums off from getting back to the cutover, and they just like sit out in the cutover thinking, well, I'm kind of screwed here, and you just shoot them with the 22. And the cutover's a pain in the ass to walk through, and but sometimes you shoot four or five or six off a cutover. And I just go flying out there with the little Ruger 1022, shoot sometimes two or three, sometimes four or five, from one area, and send the dog out to pick up the first one, and she'd bring that back, and I'd start plucking it while she's going for the other ones. And so
Yeah.
she's running like multiple retrieves out in the cutover, bringing these big possums back. And sometimes we'd be doing, I don't know, like, what would a good night be? 40, 50, 60 possums
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Wow.
And she's
Wow.
she's retrieving most of them like that.
What for?
So saving me an incredible amount of work, and she was doing a lot of work too.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Um,
No. Nothing. I said this to the wife the other day. It's nothing better than seeing a young boy with his dog and just not running amok, but just getting into adventures together, like just that sort of stuff. Like I watched my son. It was a couple of months ago, and we're out in the garden, and he's looking down at this skink in the backyard. He's looking straight at it, and then Joan is right over his shoulder and has the exact same look on her face, looking at the skink as well. And like, I wish I could take a photo of it, but it was just like it's like it's those are the childhood memories that you have. You don't remember what happened on that particular episode of the Flintstones or anything like that, but you do remember being in the backyard and like, Dad had this dog, and it was a great dog, and like, and as you said, like going and plucking possums and having a dog that automatically went and retrieved possums while you did that. Like, you don't know what you got until it's gone, I suppose, sometimes. But
Mm.
yeah, it's good to look down memory lane. But yeah, no, you mentioned earlier you're going to come over. Are you going to come over? What are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm definitely keen to come over. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you want
Got-
to chase?
Everything.
I don't blame you. I
And
don't blame you.
anything and everything. Like shooting an Australian sambar over a dog would be really good.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it'd
But
be
you got,
awesome. It'd be awesome to bring Miko over. Because she's absolutely cranking and just really nice too. She's
yep. Yep.
really nice and easy.
And she's
Um,
your dog too.
what's that?
And she's your dog.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool too. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be might have to come over and borrow one of yours or something. I don't know.
That's pressure, isn't
you,
it?
you've
That's
got you've got two, so
Borrow one of
um,
mine.
that would be really cool, man, to come over and yeah. Oh, there's so many. We've talked about it before. Yeah, I could easily spend a year or two over there. I reckon, especially once you throw hunting and fishing in the mix.
Oh, most
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
it's always sort of been on the cards to. It'd be cool to visit, just come over for a couple of weeks or something. But it would be also cool to sort of semi base over there and do quite a bit. Um,
No, I'm
yeah,
sure there's plenty of people over here that give you a bed for the night. I'm sure there'll be plenty out there.
yeah. Bloody rattle the jar on the side of
Yeah,
the road
yeah.
and
Put the hat out and see
yeah,
and see
put
where
the
you
hat out and see how we go. Maybe do do
do
some
some work, do some
do some one
one-on-one
on
training.
ones. Yeah, do some one on ones and stuff.
Um,
Um, on the origins of hunting and things, and reminds me that the ferreting and stuff. To go backwards again. One thing that a real origin thing for me, man, growing up with dogs was actually a friend of mine's dad got me into it, and he had GSPs,
right,
and he come around when we were kids once and took us up into the pines. It was before those same pines got cut over,
right.
and he had a GSP, and he had his 22, and it was what was you basically said lurching dog for that's just like
Checking down rabbits. Yeah,
chasing and dragging stuff down,
yeah,
basically lurching possums with his GSP, and there was
yeah.
heaps
Right.
of possums up there, and so the dog just free runs, just takes off and does whatever it wants. But all it's doing is just flat out trying to find possums, which is quite a few of. And sometimes they'll just grab one and scrag it
Yeah,
in the ground because a lot of them nest on the ground and in holes and stuff like that. Not necessarily on the ground, but in rubbish at the base of trees and stuff like that. Quite a few of them
right.
are dogs will catch a surprising amount of possums just burrowing in under rubbish during
Yeah,
the day.
right. Okay.
But also spooking them out of stuff low and then getting them in a tree and then you know how the Americans shoot bears and mountain lions and the dogs like chase them and tree them and
Yeah,
then
trade them. Yeah, yeah. Like
tree
these
them
the coon dogs. Yeah, yeah,
exactly like the coon dog the our dogs who tree possums during the
yeah.
day.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So you'd go up into the bush and his a friend of mine from like primary school, his dad shot ducks and so did my dad and that. And then um actually I think I got an ear rifle when I was 7, and then that mate got an ear rifle not long after that. Um and he had GSPs and bred them. And my first dog was a GSP that my dad got for me off him.
Oh, right. Yeah,
When I was like about 10,
yeah.
and completely untrained, completely out of control, was a total disaster later on. But it was a big part, like from very early on, lessons of learning about dogs and how it can go wrong. But that's what I did with that. Me and that mate with our air rifles, we used to go up and he'd tree possums, and he
Tree
was
pop.
imagine just totally untrained, totally out of control, full on male GSP, just letting
Yeah,
it do completely what it wants
yeah,
and
wow.
getting it into possums.
Yeah,
And he, by the time he was like 10 months old, he would just go hard out and we'd go into the bush. He'd take off like a pig dog,
yeah,
and you basically just wait to hear barking, and he'd have a possum, and then we'd go and shoot it with the slug guns.
yeah. And they'd fall out of the tree and he'd scrag the possum as it come out of the tree. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Like,
that reminds me of I was talking to a guy not too long ago, and his son wanted to get a coon dog, and like a well, it's short for raccoon dog, but like he wanted to get a blue tick hound or something like that, and tree feral cats in the state forest, and he's blast them out of the tree with a 12 gauge,
yeah,
and
it'll
I
work.
thought that sounds like so much fun. That sounds like so much fun. Like just you see the Americans and they let the dogs go and they got the GPS collars on, and like they're looking at their the Garmin or whatever it is, and you can see, like there's even a, a sign that says no, the dog's treeing something, like they can tell the dog's standing vertical. Like, oh yeah, we got one down here, boys. Let's go down and we'll go get him. And like, yeah, he was saying the son wants to get one. I don't know how practical it would be. I'm like, that'd be if you could teach that dog to tree feral cats and bark and howl and whatever else, and you go down there, and that sounds like so much fun. That sounds like a great time, especially here in the bush. But yeah, there's heaps of ways. There's heaps of different ways to go hunting, I suppose, and there's heaps of ways to enjoy yourselves. But I think just making those core memories for kids, I think, is what's going to help with hunting in the future as well. I think that's what
Mm.
we'll carry it on and make it more prevalent and make it more what would be the word for it, more um, accepting of society, I suppose, as we keep moving forward. In
Mm.
New Zealand, you've got a very good culture over there where, like, you can wear a camo jacket, walking into the shops. Like the old mate, farmer, he's got his, I think he's called red bands. Yeah, your gum boots. Like he's got his red bands on. He's got his, he needed a wet weather jacket, so he's going to wear the exact same jacket. It's going for hunting. It's going to be used for wet weather anyway. Um, and here in Australia, like if you wear a camo, wet weather jacket, in the shops, they look at you really weird. They look at you sideways, going, "What's this guy up to? What's he doing? Like, why is he wearing camouflage here?"
Mm.
It's very different. So I think the way moving forward, I think, is to keep the kids excited in it and give them the opportunity to do that sort of stuff and create those memories. And I think that's what will definitely help us here in Australia with carry on those sort of traditions and stuff like that. And it's good for kids because it gets them off those devices and gets them off the screen time and gets them out there into gets their hands dirty and that sort of stuff. And I think that's the way of the future, to be honest with you. That's a side
Mm.
tangent, isn't it? If I've ever heard one.
Yeah, it is, but yeah, it's an important one and quite a big one. Oh man, like I got in enough trouble as a kid, even though I had access to a lot of hunting and fishing.
Yeah,
And outdoors, hunting and fishing and dirt bikes was pretty much the three big things.
yeah.
Often all at the same time. Um, but man, if I didn't have hunting and fishing as an outlet, and then if I didn't have hunting and fishing as an outlet, even later on, like right into my 20s and even into adult life as like a focus and things to get into, oh, God knows where I would have ended up.
Oh,
But I get like, hey, who knows? I might have scraped through. But
yeah,
yeah, hunting and fishing for me has kind of been everything.
yeah, most
Um,
definitely. Yeah,
so,
no, I'm very
but
much the same. I'm very much the same. It's all I ever talk about really is hunting or fishing or dogs. That's it. That's
it's
all I
it's
mainly
so
talk
good,
about.
eh?
It
Um,
is.
but yeah, that style of they do it, that style of the dogs treeing the possums when we were kids. And it was just like fun and exciting and very simple, and it worked too. It was successful. It wasn't as if we were sneaking around for ages. We didn't have to train the dog, nothing, man. They just went hard out. It was absolute debauchery, like
Yeah, yeah, and
um
chaos, but fun.
absolute chaos as far as, and that dog actually ended up getting in all sorts of grief, and it didn't end well, because he was totally out of control and all of
Yeah,
that sort of stuff. But uh yeah, it was definitely good while it lasted and while we were doing it. Um, in the States, it's huge, man, how they do it with squirrel dogs and that, eh? And
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I was
The,
actually I was actually talking to a guy. I actually talked about having him on the podcast, but he was in the States there somewhere, um, in those states that are all, I think it's oak, isn't it? But
as in
uh
oak trees and stuff like that.
yeah, sort of in the south, in those states, sort of up and left from Florida,
Like Texas, there's Georgia.
like Louisiana and
Oh
Arkansas
yeah,
and that sort of
oh yeah,
area there.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and yeah, he's got a YouTube channel and stuff. And I was looking up their his videos, and yeah, it's this whole sort of culture. I'm trying to find America
On Google Maps.
on Google Maps and look up the states. I can't. Oh, yep, there it is. Um, yeah, it's like it's more like Alabama and Mississippi,
Yeah,
that's
right
in
on.
Louisiana, and even up to Arkansas, Missouri, that whole middle of the South type area. And
Yeah,
when you zoom in on those areas on Google Maps and that, it's just heaps of bush. There's heaps of bush,
yeah,
And
yeah,
so there's just these huge areas with heaps of bush. There must be heaps of squirrels because they go out and they get heaps of squirrels in a day, man. And it's all with those coon dogs.
yeah,
And they just go out and they do that like woo, like how
yeah.
they have that real bay.
Woo, woo, yeah,
Yeah. And the dogs go out and go hard doing that. I think they use the same dogs, and in deer season they haul the deer, and the dogs go out, and it's kind of like the way they do it in Europe, where the dogs go out and basically get the deer moving, and
yeah,
then they get ahead of them, or they'll get spread out around a block and put the dogs into a block, and
yeah,
they probably know the most likely crossing points and stuff like that, and they get all set up, get the dogs moving, and they're like, I get the deer moving, and they're shooting them on the run and stuff like that. But
yeah. They have that here in Australia with sambar deer. There's full hound hunting crews over here, especially in the East Gippsland and the northern part of Victoria. There in all that in that bush region up there, and there's actually allocated areas for you to do hound hunting because it's so effective in getting deer numbers down. And like you talk to guys who have got hounds that you watch videos on it, you just see these beagles or foxhounds, and they just be barking behind a sambar deer, and they've been running this sambar deer for ages, and the sambar deer's just trotting along, and they're just like 20, 30 meters behind it, go, row, 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 and just keep pushing it. And like you can hear the dogs coming. And yeah, like these guys have, hunted the same spots for like, 20, 30 years. So they know the trails, they know where the sambar are going to go, they know where to put people. And like, yeah, people like that, you can hear the hounds coming, the sambar comes in front of you, and then, bang, you shoot the sambar, and the dogs have got a sambar deer, and like you're happy as, because like it's a really effective way on getting into sambar very quickly with when you got really good hound crews they talk to each other via UHF, and they tell you where the dogs are, where they're coming through, and where to position yourself, all that sort of stuff. And it's a real coordinated sort of team exercise. But once it's all happening and everyone's interacting with all the pieces of the puzzle, like watching them, watching their harvest results is just huge with Samba deer. So yeah, they got it over here in Australia. It's fascinating how they set themselves up and where they're going to push the deer from, and like how like Samba stags will run, and they won't cross over into another Samba's, section. They'll stay in their own area, their own home beat, and they'll just keep running around that same circle over and over again. And they'll try to find other deer that they can put the hounds onto, so those hounds will chase them and they can get away and all that sort of stuff. Like a real ancient form of hunting, and it's like
Mm.
really cool to watch and see.
Mm. Yeah,
Great.
I've seen that, man. I've seen that for years too, like just in magazines and even on social media and YouTube and stuff. The guys doing it in Aussie. I think Samba are a little bit because Rooster are the same here, like where I used to live in the bush trapping and that. Where there's Rooster, the local guys down there. Oh, they just call it dogging, just dogging deer.
Yeah, I watched
Um,
it looking at this afternoon that they were dogging a red deer.
Yep,
They,
they'll get reds too.
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of it is using the rivers and the big rivers, and often in either on horses or in jet boats and things in the river. Um, and yeah, working those big rivers, and the dogs just go up. And when the dogs hit a deer on a steep face, it's going to come downhill, and then it's going to end up in the river, and then it's getting chased up and down the river flats, and also sometimes trying to cross the river or get caught in a big pool or in deep water and stuff. And they it can be a pretty effective way of separating the deer from the bush, that's for sure. And they yeah, they definitely put a bit of venison in the truck doing it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And the dogs are well trained, and they've got the nose on them, and they know where to find the deer. They know how to they. It's as if they've got it's nearly a cheat code sometimes using a dog, a well trained dog,
mm,
because they're gonna go out, and they're gonna find the deer, and that's another reason why I got an indicating dog is being having a family and being time poor. I could put as much time as I wanted into training because I'm at home, but going out hunting, I need to make those hours count. And so, there have been so many deer that I wouldn't have found unless I had Joan there. Like, I would have walked past so many. But just walking on a track and then just her just turning left hard on a track, going in, sniffing down, and you walk over and you can see there's a pile of pellets there. Oh, we're on. Beauty. Yep, off we go. And then she just follows that tracking. And you would have walked past that. You would have walked past that, not even knowing that the deer had crossed off that track literally half an hour ago.
mm,
So yeah, as I said, it's nearly a cheat code, but it's so good watching those dogs going in there, bailing those deer. And when there's so many photos I've seen, videos of the Samba. When the Samba's had enough because they go and find a deep pool or a deep part of the creek or whatever, and then they put their back end into it and have their head out, and the dogs they're just bailing, they're just bopping their head back and forth and keeping them at bay, just waiting for them to go. Like it's pretty cool to watch that. But even I actually watched some footage the other day of a Samba. There was a Samba hind, and she was trying to whack dingoes. Dingoes were trying to grab the calf, and she's there trying to whack the dingoes, and she actually
front
whacked it
feet,
a couple of times. Hey,
front feet
yeah,
stomping.
front feet, just
Yeah.
trying to smash the dingoes. Like, it was like a very yeah, like yeah, that bit of footage is a very, very rare bit of footage to have a look at. But like just seeing how they're just trying to stamp and trying to have she was trying to poke and have both her feet together, and she was trying to lance them and all that sort of stuff. Like watching that was pretty cool, and like they know how to defend themselves. They can defend themselves, and they know evade dogs because they've been doing it for thousands upon thousands of years. But once again, it's all part of the game, and yeah, it's all in the sport, eh? It's good sport. It's good
Mm.
sport. What it is, yeah.
Yeah, real good. Yep. And yeah, those guys with the I prefer the indicating way more. And both has its pros and cons and can be easier and harder. Like Sometimes the dog will be sneaking in on a deer and we keep spooking it, and it can be difficult that way. But then other times too, and we might be trying to sneak up on a deer and we spook it and we can't get it because we're trying to sneak in and shoot it. And whereas the hound guys, their dogs might have just run in and chased it for a bit and then bailed it up and they might have got it, but it might have got away for us. But then with the indicating dog, sometimes too, there might be a deer just over the brow of the hill, and with the indicating dog, we just ninja over there and shoot it, and we get our deer real easy. Whereas their hounds might have hit that and chased it 2.5 k's, and they might have had a hell of a time, So
Yeah,
it's like just and yeah, their dogs they'd have the awesome dogs that have come on really well, and there's just like a huge amount of skill and knowledge and effectiveness and pros and cons, and so much of it is in the same ways but very different ways too. But
yeah, yeah.
um yeah, there'd be a
You want,
huge amount of knowledge and skill in both the handlers and the dogs in that hounding, and it can be incredibly effective for sure.
yeah. Or with the hounding, like they've got teams of dogs and teams of people, and like you can't just set off 20 hounds and then go, yeah, we'll just chase these hounds at the end of the day. No, they get the hounds up to the top of the system and they put people in places. So just in case it goes this track or goes that track, or it's a real team thing, spread over, maybe 20, 30, 40 people might be doing it. Whereas if you're just ninjaing in the bush with your dog, it's just you and your dog.
Mm.
And then you don't need, you're not releasing the dog, you're not running for kilometers on end. You just, yeah, literally walking along and finding sport. It's a different form of the sport, and yeah, if you got if you got a really good dog, it just makes it a really good time. You have so much fun doing it. Like you're putting meat on the table, but you're actually having fun doing working the dog. It's just a different way of working a dog, I suppose. But yeah,
Mm.
no, you're right. You're right there.
That's very cool. I love the whole indicating, sneaking, ninjaing around thing. I did, well, like as I was just saying that, I started off when I was 10, but like sort of lurching, hauling with the hauling dog thing. And we also did a fair bit of pig hunting, not tons and tons, but I did a bit of pig hunting as well. And, yeah, that could often it could be exactly what I just said. Like, sometimes the pig dog would work perfectly and it'd just run
Yeah,
out and grab a pig that would have been very difficult to stalk. And
yeah,
other times we just end up traipsing around following these dogs, pissing off for miles and where is it and where's it gone and all of that. And
yeah.
and then to an indicator, it's just like the dog's right here and it's indicating and it just takes you to it. And I shoot the ones we can find. And it's like it's so tidy and easy, and there's a lot of finesse in it, and
Yes, yeah. There is often finesse in it, and like you're really you're reading the dog. You are so engaged with that dog's mannerisms and the way it's moving and like what it's doing. Like you're so engaged with it, like you're nearly at another level with trying to see what the dog is trying to think. Really, you're trying to
Mm.
decipher all that in the movements of the dog. Like it's a lot more intense for sure. Definitely, the stalking in with the dog is a lot more intense than opening up the cage and like seeing a pig open up the cage and go on, get a hold, get a hold, get a hold, go on, get a hold, and then just chasing them into the abyss and
It's I'm obviously biased, but yeah, I think there's at least an argument to be made that big game like hunting big game with the big game indicating dog, and the dog staying close to you and the dog indicating, and you're handling the dog and you're both looking at each other and reading each other silently and moving in and hunting as a team like that. There's at
oh,
least an argument to be made that it's maybe the ultimate form of hunting with a dog.
oh yeah, I would agree with you there. I would agree. Like if you want to reduce pig numbers and all that sort of stuff quickly, like get the guys in there with the pig dogs and they'll chase them all down, they'll do that sort of stuff. But if you want finesse and you want like a guy who's truly in tune with working his dog, then yeah, you just ninja in, and just there's nothing better. I think there's nothing better than just ninjaing in with the dog, seeing that deer, and then going, I'm going to take over here. We'll shoot the deer, harvesting that deer, and going. Like that's what I think is the most exciting thing. And like lots of guys, especially here in Oz, guys that have got indicating dogs, they have indicating dogs for mainly deer, goats, things like that. Because like over here, we lots of guys don't actually eat pigs because everyone's afraid of tuberculosis. I think it's tuberculosis. Anyway, it's the pigs carry a lot of diseases and stuff, and they eat a lot of carrion and things like that over here, especially up in North Queensland and places like that. So guys are just out there trying to bag big balls with big hooks and that sort of stuff, and there's plenty of good sport in it. And like even here in Australia, there's the Pig Dogging Association, and they've killed something like 1 million pigs in the last 12 months here in Australia, like just phenomenal numbers. And just by them recording that sort of stuff, it's given them more leverage about getting access and things like that into public spaces, which has been great to see.
Because feral pigs are a huge problem over there, right?
Massive,
Like, yeah.
absolutely huge over here. Like it's just a massive problem here. Like it's like you're talking about taking 1 million animals out of the bush, and there's still being a problem.
Mm.
Like that's that the numbers are just and they're exploding every time there's a big rain or something like that. Like the numbers are just exploding, and like farmers just can't keep up with them. And that like a lot of farmers rely on the help of pig doggers and things like that to help thin them out. But when it comes to like deer hunting and doing goats and stuff like that, like especially in the state forests, like in the state forests, there's it's in New South Wales anyway. Like there's actually you can actually go pig hunting at night time in a state forest, but you can't go shooting in a state forest at night time. So you've got two different. They see there's two different forms of hunting. They know that those guys can go and do their job without firearms, and these guys need their firearms, so therefore they can only do it during daylight hours. But in the daylight, you're sneaking through, you're shooting deer. As I said before, taking the meat home. I think there's nothing better than that. I absolutely love doing that. And like my intention, like with Vita, is to shoot every deer species in Australia in a New South Wales state forest. Well, that's the goal. That's what I want to do with Vita. That's my life goal, I suppose you'd say. That's what I really want to do. And yeah, and I think I've got the dog to do that with now. So just waiting for her to come of age, but looking forward to that. And harvesting all those species, and yeah, that'll be. I haven't known or don't know of anyone that's actually done that. That's actually shot every deer species over an indicating dog in Australia. And if there is, and they're listening to this podcast, please reach out. I'd love to have a chat to you about it. I really would. But yeah, I have not heard of anyone doing it. I'd love to go and do that. That's my goal.
That sounds awesome, man. What are the species there?
You got your Samba deer. That's your biggest deer. Samba red rusa. There's
Mm.
fallow,
Samba,
chital,
red, rusa, fallow,
fallow, yeah,
tittle.
chital, yeah, and hog deer,
Far out.
yeah,
You got a bit going on there, eh?
yeah. We've got, and most of them are in the eastern states
Yeah.
of Australia.
And
So
you've got all of those on public land in New South Wales.
I do, yeah. And anyone listening to this from Australia is going to want to know where you can find a couple of the species mentioned, because they're not known to be in state forests, but they are. They
You,
are.
you
They
don't
are
don't blow
there.
out your spots, mate.
No, I don't intend to. Well, New South Wales is a big area, but they are there. And yeah, my intention is to go and get them one at a time. So I'll concentrate on that. Like fallow down here, a dime a dozen. Like if you shoot a deer, usually your first deer you shoot's is either a fallow deer or it's a samba deer, because there's plenty around. And then yeah, fallow and reds, not as common, but common enough. And then you've got like hog deer and chiddle deer, which are like your rarer. They are the rarer species to get and find and all that sort of stuff. Like to the point where if you want to hunt hog deer in Victoria, they're on a tag system in Victoria, and you got to go into a ballot to be able to go and hunt them on islands and stuff like that. And they can, like, they've got genetic data on where a hog deer might come from. So, for instance, you can say if you got a tag and you say I've shot hog deer here, they can go and test that skin or the meat of that deer, and they can say, oh, yeah, that deer is from that herd in that section of Victoria. And then they'll know if you say I shot it here and it's come from somewhere else, they know you're lying.
Really?
Yeah. It's that full on. But in New South Wales, it's hog deer is just seen as another deer species. So you're more than welcome to harvest as many of them as you want. So, but yeah, if you look hard enough, they are all there. And that's my intention, is to get to get them all, and then I can move on to other things in life, like catching a certain size fish or whatever. But yeah, that's what I want to do with Vita. That's what I
Mm.
love to do with Vita, and so that I've made that my mission for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that'll be awesome, man.
Yeah,
That'd be
it will be.
really cool. Start seeing you tick some of those. Let's just tick the whole lot off.
I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward. I think hog deer are the hog deer are the hardest because they're small. They're like a little Labrador,
Mm.
and just talking to a couple of guys who have tried to hunt them, and talking to them about hunting them with a dog, and them just saying how the dog would have to be used to get them. It's not that far off being a true indicating dog. You just need a little bit more. They need a little bit more finesse, a little bit more, pizzazz about them. And yeah, I reckon I'll be able to knock off a couple. I reckon. So
Mm.
looking forward to that.
That'll be cool. I can't think of anyone like in the inner circle or on the Instagram, big game indicating dog Instagram. I can't think of a big game indicating dog hog deer post or photo.
Yeah, yeah, because
Do you know
they're
of anyone that shot one
no,
with a dog?
I don't. I don't have no. I don't. And all the guys I talked to about it said the dog would be so advantageous if you could do this couple of things with the dog. And so, like, I won't give all my secrets now, but I'll be working. I'll be like, I've been able to acquire some hog deer skin from Victoria, which has been good, and I'll be using that to train with, obviously. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing that. Really looking forward to it. Hopefully, you're over here when that happens, and you'll be right.
That'd be cool. Are
Yeah,
they? I'm imagining, I don't know why, but I'm thinking if they're a smaller deer like that, are they? Because Seeker here a little bit. Rooster will do it too, actually. They'll like sit tight a little bit, like a
yeah,
rabbit, and let
yeah.
you walk past.
That's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do. They will hide in the smallest bit of tussock grass.
Mm,
They will hold position really, really well, and then they'll
yeah,
wait to the very end. Like, yeah, some guys even describe it as, like, how when the Americans hunt with the dog and the dog will go on full point, hold point. The Americans will go in and they'll kick the
yeah,
ground, and they'll wait for the pheasant to flush out, and they'll shoot the pheasant on the fly.
yeah.
Yeah, nearly something like that.
Real tight. Yeah.
Real tight work, like pretty much like use a 12 gauge. You're not even using
Mm,
a rifle anymore. You're using a 12 gauge with buckshot in it.
yeah. Are you allowed to hunt deer with a 12 gauge over there?
Yes, you are. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Not very practical in the state forests, but yeah, yeah.
And
You can.
in a case like that, if it's
It
going to be
warrants.
like that, that'd be bloody good. Especially if the deer aren't huge. We're not allowed to use shotgun on public land in New Zealand.
Oh, there you
But
go.
But man, that's quite an interesting concept that is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just listening to lots of guys talk about it and having like guys like lay eyes on them and like try to pursue them and get them themselves and like come up short and they just yeah it's the they almost act like a skittish quail and you need to work them like that. So that from what I've heard, and I'm looking forward to putting that to the test and seeing how that goes. But yeah, that'll be the I reckon that'll be my kryptonite. That'll be the hardest one. I reckon will be the hoggy. So
Mm,
yeah. Other than that, yeah, I think the rest of them will be okay. They're not as different, but yeah, the hoggy is definitely something special, and yeah, it's that'd be definitely a very like that'd probably the pinnacle of my I reckon of my indicating dog career, whatever you want to call it. I reckon that'd be the pinnacle is getting a hoggy with
yeah,
the dog. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
that'll be awesome, man. I reckon you can do it.
Yeah, I'm
It'll
looking
be
forward
good.
to trying anyway.
It'll be good to see. Um, what's hog do you like to eat? What's the
Apparently, it's
docile?
really good. A mate of mine, he harvested one not long ago, and he reckons it's really good to eat. Like it's a very still a very lean meat, but it's not dark. It's like it's got a pinkish tinge to it. Definitely not as tough. And yeah, it's he like he described it as just being like a probably the veal of the deer species.
Mm,
That's how he described it, because they're not like they're really round, compact deer, and like they just eat sweet grasses all the time in swamps and things like that. So they eat apparently they eat very well. Apparently they eat very well. So looking forward to yeah, to trying and sampling that, and yeah, just they're not they're a very niche sort of a very niche sort of a deer over here,
mm,
Australia, but like heaps of guys go into the ballot system to try and go shoot them on islands and things like that. When they go hunting for them, they actually um, most of them are pretty sure most of the islands are national parks, but they will take over portable stands and they'll sit up on portable stands and overlook an area and they'll wait. They'll be there really early in the morning. They'll be there before the sun rises and just wait for the deer to come out and just see little bits of movement here and there. And then in the afternoon, the exact same thing, just waiting till it's near dark and just seeing them come out and harvesting one that way. But that's in Vico in New South Wales. It's like if it's there, it's there. Like like it's not that hard to know that they're there because the Invasive Species Council brought out a report and it showed deer and like and what their concerns were in what areas and things like that. So you can sort of pinpoint know where they're going to be really.
mm.
But yeah, so it's definitely possible. The information is there if you look for it.
Yep.
The information is there. But yeah, definitely a different type of species to hunt for sure. Definitely, like they like guys have I know a couple of guys that have tried for years to try and get one and just not been able to harvest one. It's just been there's been so frustrating. They're just so frustrating to get apparently because they're so small and compact, and you're looking for lots of guys are looking for a bigger animal. They're not looking so low to the ground. They're looking you're looking at that 1 meter high ranges. That's where everyone's looking, but you need to be looking shorter than that.
Mm.
You, yeah, you almost need to be looking like a small round beach ball running around.
Yep.
But yeah, no, look, I'm really looking forward to getting into that and trying to get one, and definitely have the dog. That's yeah. I've been reading a lot of books about hunting them in India, and they would use spaniels and stuff in India with a 12 gauge to get them. Just reading books on that, and I'm just yeah, I'm hooked. I'm hooked, and I'd love to get in there and try to get one. So and I will try to get in there and get one. Whether I'm successful or not, we'll soon see. So I suppose watch this space.
No, that would be cool, man. Yeah, it is a cool, different, niche, sort of interesting thing. Yeah. It's always cool to find something new and different to have a go at like that, eh? Than
Yeah, well, this
always
is
doing
it.
the same old thing.
And just talking to people, about those little nuances and things like that out there, and it just intrigues me how like different people will attack different situations in a different way. And so like you have a chat to one person and they'll say this is how I do it and this is how I try and do it, and then you talk to the next guy, exact same species they're trying to get, and like, I wouldn't do it that way. I'm trying this way to do it. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you just cherry pick from that information and you try to work it into the way you do things, and hopefully you just increase your percentages and hopefully it works out.
Mm.
That's the intention. We'll see how we go with it.
There's more than one way of doing everything, eh? I've been getting into game fishing lately and super interesting, man. And yeah, that's one of those things that one person's like, oh, you definitely don't need to do that, and you've got to do it this way, and it's this, that, and the other, and they've got like their whole system and picture of doing it, and
Yeah,
they are really good at doing it, and they've done a lot of it, and they're really effective at it and that. But then there's someone else over here that's really good at it too, that's done a lot of it, that their idea of their way of doing it is just totally different. It's like
yeah,
almost the opposite end of the spectrum, and it's yeah, and both are really good, effective ways of doing it, and both are just have just mastered that part of it.
yeah. There's guys over here in the southern states. Well, they've got them up north as well. But jewelfish, they're called. Jewfish, they're very sought after fish by fishermen, and like everyone, like every man worth his salt that tries to fish for jewfish, that everyone's just trying to crack the code. Everyone wants to crack the code on the jewfish. Like, do you wait for high tide and wait for the slack of the tide, or live bait, or what type of live bait do you use, or do you just use fresh squid, or like some guys will swear by this and other guys will swear by that. And you look at their photos and they've caught fish. They've caught the big fish, and that guy's caught the big fish too. And you go, well, there's two ways to skin a cat here, but nonetheless they're catching them, and you just try to cherry pick the information that they've got, and you're trying to work it into your system and trying to catch a jewfish. And I live on the coast here, and just you talk to old fishermen and new fishermen, and like, you know, you talk to a different guy and they'll give you a different way of doing things. But some of them it works at different times. And like, if you were to work it out, you could probably catch a jewfish every hour of the day by using a different person's system. But yeah, by all means, like, you take all that, they'll take you once again, cherry pick all that really good information, try to use that to your advantage, and hopefully you get onto it. But as you were saying in the podcast, like the other day, your latest one, like, you're focusing on it. You're just getting right down deep into it and taking all that information on board and then using it to try and trying to get those percentages up. And that's how you become.
Mm,
That's a really good recipe of being successful, I think.
mm,
Yeah, on head with that one.
yeah, yeah. The jewfish, are they called mulloway as well? Is that the
Mulloway,
same?
yeah,
Yeah, same fish, eh? They remind me quite a lot of our big kingfish here.
yeah,
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 large predatory fish, and so it sounds like everyone wants to catch one. Everyone particularly wants to catch a real big one. Um, and kingfish here are exactly the same, man. Everyone has all the different ideas on it, and the truth is that there's lots of different ways of getting them, and different ways work better at different places at different times.
yeah,
And it's just like, yeah, it's doing the right thing at the right time that gets them.
100%.
And like, for example, some people will say, oh, that kingfish don't eat dead bait. But then I know one area that one of the best ways to get the biggest fish there is the right big dead bait.
Yep. Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and yeah, and other places like yeah, the dead bait's almost a waste of time, and the craziest thing about kingfish here, and I think probably a lot of things like this too, is one day, um, for example, probably two of the most common live baits for kingfish in New Zealand are jack mackerel or kahawai.
Yep.
And I've seen days when I've literally watched it when I've had jack mackerel out under a balloon as a live bait and kingfish are swimming up to it and nosing it and harassing it and not eating it. Um, but the minute you put a kahawai in, and you can't catch a decent kahawai, and the minute you put a kahawai in, they're like fighting over the kahawai.
Yep. Yep. Trying to
And I was,
smash. Yep.
and so it's like, oh, you've got to get a kahawai to catch a kingy.
Yep.
But then another time in a very similar area, same time of year too, I've seen it another day and it's the other way around. And you
Yep.
tow a kahawai around and they won't eat that. And then, but you put a nice jack mac on and it gets bit. So
Yep.
it's like,
100%.
what?
Yeah, you go,
Is
you scratch your head. You scratch your head and go,
yeah,
how's that even possible? Like
for
what's going?
whatever and maybe that was a timing thing and another fish come along right as you put that mackerel in or something. But or other times it's just like that's what they were feeding on that day for some reason, or that kahawai was a little bit big now, or
Yeah,
and that
no, you're right. You're right.
mm,
There's a fish over here in Australia called a flathead, and they shift their bodies and they get down into the sand, and they wait for bait fish or small crustaceans or whatever to go over top of them, and they come out and woof, they grab whatever's above them, and like I still remember um, watching a flathead underneath, and where you throw whatever soft plastic lure you can, and you try and jiggle it in front of their face, and they don't care. And then you drop a peeled prawn in front of them, and they just look at the peeled prawn, and they're not interested in the peeled prawn or anything like that. But like, I remember I was there fishing with my mate one day, and he's pulled up a small crab, and he's just put that on the hook and he's thrown that out, and he's come up with a flathead, and he's caught a flathead first cast, bang with the crab, got us intrigued. So we opened up the flathead, and inside the flathead it was just full of crabs. And crabs not flathead's not known for eating copious amounts of crabs, but this one had eaten so many of them. So we pulled a couple of the dead crabs out of that and used them as bait, and then we were just catching flathead hand over fist, and like it was, yeah. It's just situational things, and like whether there was a run on crabs that week, I don't know, but the crabs worked at that time. So it's yeah, you're right. Different um, different situations call for different types of techniques and different types of baits, and once you get all that lined up, that's when you're successful, and
mm,
that's when
yeah.
those experience comes in.
They seem to get keyed right in on things, and sometimes, like even kahawai, which are known for being sometimes the easiest fish to catch, sometimes they get keyed right in on something like if they're on krill.
Yep, yep,
And usually if you get a smelt fly in amongst some kahawai or a little spinner or a cube of bait or something, every now and again when they're going nuts on krill, oh, like I
yep.
literally was doing it like a few weeks ago, and I was throwing like there was a boil up of kahawai, you could have walked on them, and I
Yep.
was throwing a smelt fly right into the middle of that, and they weren't eating, nothing
That
would
was
eat it.
touching it.
They
Yep.
all they were doing was eating the krill that they were eating, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
I think sometimes too kingies, and I think like quite a few different large predators. A huge part of it is the time of year. So whatever they're doing, if they're feeding up before or after the spawn, but it's like a energy. It's like a expenditure reward um uh like equation for them.
Right, okay.
And I think like because sometimes the big kingies they're eating big kahawai,
Right.
and I think that's what's usually happening really big kingies and the smaller mackerels, they're like, oh, it's not. I'm not. They don't want to like burst into action and
Yep,
try and burn energy for that. But if
yep,
you give them the right size kahawai, that's really big, so it's a really big meal for them. So there's a big payoff, but it's to them it looks gettable, like so it's wounded like a big kahawai livey under a balloon or something.
yep.
Then that'll turn that fish on, and they're like, yeah, um,
I'll have that. Thank you.
yeah, I'll try for that. That's worth me trying.
Yeah, yeah. They create
Um,
a big meal for them to eat.
and then maybe when they're eating the mackie and not the big, they're like not that hungry that day, and they're like, no, I just need a little snack. I don't know, but
No, you're right.
um,
Yeah, it's the same with flathead here. The big flathead, they're usually all girls, and they'll lay up and they'll wait. And like sometimes you can flick, a little, 2 inch or 3 inch plastic over the top of them and work it over the top of the bottom. And they'll watch it just go by and not care about it. But if you throw something 6-7 inches in there, flick it out and just bring it out in front of them, just boof, they just come up and they'll grab it. Yeah, so you're right. They look for the bigger meal, and it's the less amount of work for the most amount of gain. I
yeah,
think
yes, it's all about efficiency sometimes, eh?
most definitely, especially in the fish's world. And like you were saying with the carwai, like it like there's we call them Australian salmon over here, and there's heaps up and down the coast here. And like I'll go fishing with a mate, and he loves using like a silver bullet lure, and he'll just cast it out and retrieve that at high speeds, and like that you'll get a salmon that way. And I like using my pilchards or like they're sardines, like salted sardines. I'll use them, and like some days like I'll just cast out and bang, just do get double hookups, no worries whatsoever, and he'll catch absolutely nothing. And then the next day he can be casting that lure and getting a fish every cast, and I'm throwing right in the middle of the school with the bits of chopped up pilchard and or bits of prawn or whatever, bits of squid, and they want nothing to do with it. They want to chase that that bait fish. So like it's all situational, as you said. It's all situational.
Mm,
That's the fun of it. That
mm.
is the fun of it. That's why it's called fishing and not catching.
Yeah.
You
If you
know,
yeah, if you could work it out and there was just one thing and you just did exactly that every time and it was totally predictable, you'd still be good and you go and do it and you get a feed in that. But that's all it would be, you're just
that's
going
why
and getting a feed.
it'd be
But
boring. Wow.
the fact that yeah, you're constantly tweaking and changing and trying to figure it out
Yeah,
is
it's that I think ignites something very primal in your brain. That's what keeps you going back to try and go again and again and again. I think it's really really going back to what's the word for it? Not ancient thinking, but the ways you used to think as a Neanderthal or whatever, and you would you know the way hunting and fishing would be, and like where the fish would be, and all that sort of stuff. I think it just invokes something that's that in a lot of people is just buried deep down inside, and that fishing just or hunting brings it out, and that's why people enjoy it so much. I think
a
it just
100% that real ingrained evolutionary driver, eh?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, gets you out there, and you're just like, oh, this is especially when it works out and you've done it right.
Mm,
Like right now, I'm trying to. There's heaps. Well, you would have read in the news. There's been, well, it might be in your news too. There's been heaps of shark attacks lately, and there's plenty of bull sharks around at the moment. So I was talking to a mate of mine. We want to go out and see if we can catch a couple because there's been a couple seen in the river. So we want to go and see if we can catch a bull shark. And like they reckon the best bait for sharks here is eel. So we've gone and caught a couple of eels, and we're going to rig them up in the way of we're going to actually put a wine cork. We've cut them up into bits that are about 10, 12 inches long, and we're going to put a wine cork in the inside the gut cavity towards the end, just to bring it and float it up off the ground like so, and then strap the hook in it so the hook is pointing down. So as the shark grabs it and then takes off with it, that hook hopefully embeds itself, and it's a better strike rate with it. And like running that past a couple of guys who regularly catch sharks, that like they look at that and they go, that's actually a really good idea. That's yeah. Then they probably get the shits. They didn't think about it beforehand themselves, but like just it's just sometimes it takes a fresh set of eyes and just a different way of thinking. People to go, oh yeah, try that. See how you go with that. So we're gonna be trying that this week and see if we can get you know trying to get a bull shark out of the river, and it's because it's it's all about the chase and everything like that. But we're looking forward to doing that. But I've never caught a bull shark before, so we'll see how we go. But it's going to be fun, and I can't wait to go and do it. And yeah, and like if we do catch one, then I'm going to have so much. I'm gonna cut it up and dry it and turn it into jerky to give to the dogs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
yeah. So
Mm,
yeah, at least if you're harvesting the animal, you're going to put it to use.
yeah. Dogs
So yeah,
love fish, eh? You don't really think of
they
that,
do.
but
Oh yeah,
they,
no,
man, they peak on it. Like when I'm
they
filleting and stuff,
yeah
Nico's just hanging around like the bloody, he's
the
real keen on it.
every time I'm catching salmon, I'm filleting salmon up or carwai. When I'm filleting it up, like I can give the. I usually keep the heads for shark fishing, but I'll the carcass, the backbone and all that. I'll actually give that to the dogs,
Mm,
and they absolutely love it to bits. And their
mm,
coat comes out so shiny. The worst part is when you go to let them out and they smell your face and all you can smell is a face full of you know a day old fish.
yeah.
But other than that, then yeah, it's really good for them and they love it. They absolutely you can see how excited they get when you bring it to them. Chickens love it too. Actually, I hang a couple up in the chicken pen. The
Oh, yeah.
chicken you grab it. Yeah,
Yeah. That'll be real good for the eggs and all of that,
it
eh? You're
is.
like
It is. Yeah,
getting protein.
it really helps out with the actually they do actually lay bigger eggs. I find when you've given them the salmon, like the eggs are just that little bit more. It's extra 5, 6, 7 grams in the egg, a bit more bigger. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's we don't like wasting in this house, so it's good to utilize the whole lot. Otherwise, it just goes to the pelicans or the seagulls, at the local boat ramp, you
Mm,
know.
yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
Awesome, Frank. Yeah. I knew it'd be a good chat.
it's been a good one.
Yeah, man. Well, I reckon we could get a couple more in too. Um, I sort of just cautiously skimmed over that hunting and fishing stuff at the end
Yeah,
there so we don't blow it out into a bloody 4 more hours. But
yeah,
nah,
for sure.
real good chat there on the dog front too, and it's good for people to hear it coming from someone else. And yeah, like I said at the start, man, yeah, thanks again for being a real good champion and supporter of the blueprint and all of that, and also just doing a good job and setting a good example and helping other people out and getting people onto it and all of that. It's been awesome, man. So thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you for bringing out the program. Like I went online looking for a program that I can train my dog to do exactly what it does now, and you nailed it. You nailed it, mate. You've done really well with it. And I'm ever so happy with what the product that you've made. So kudos to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Frank. Righto. Well, stay on. I won't just hang up on you, but yeah, we'll shut down the podcast. And yeah, thanks, mate. And we'll do another one soon.
Now looking forward to it. Cheers, man.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.